All right, welcome back to Banff and welcome back to the ATB Banff Classic. We have our final match, which is featuring Team Cooey and Team Harty. Team Cooey arriving here through a win this morning against Team Botcher. Team Harty through a win over Team Sturmey. Before we get to the game and meeting our other announcers, we're going to take you to a video we shot quickly, an interview with Jeremy Harty about the upcoming game. If you're going to go to the Brier, if there is a Brier, you're going to have to get through arguably the top team and contender #1 rank in our province, Team Cooey. And that's who you're going to face this afternoon. Certainly Team Botcher, you beat them twice. I mean, that's a top team right on par with Cooey. So, what are your thoughts going into this game this afternoon? What do you have to do against a powerhouse like that who also added a new second, John Morris? So certainly, a lot of powerhouse there. What do you think of the keys to the game this afternoon? What do you have to do?
I think we finished the game. We already played them once this weekend, and we lost by a few points, but we gave them a 4-ball early. So I think if we can just keep it a little closer and just keep rolling from where we left off that game, should make it a close one, hopefully.
Now, you say keep it closer. I mean, we've seen a lot of teams. I don't know if it's because it's an 8-in game or just the way of this year, but there seems to be a lot of offense early. There's no sort of feeling out the ice. We watched where all but 2 rocks were in play in the first end and gets junked up in a positive way. I mean, is that what you're finding too? Yeah,
when the ice is good, everyone's wanting to put rocks in play, I think. So if the ice is good, then everyone's making the freezes, everyone's making the guards. Adds up quick.
That's great. Now, is there anybody you want to say thanks out there to, or anybody from your team?
Yeah, for sure. We'd like to thank all our sponsors. We got K&K Solutions is new this year. Then we have Knievel Insurance and NLSS are continuing sponsors with us. This year we also added McKee Homes and Impulse Technology, and Go Travel with Daniel Pegat out of Trochu. So without those sponsors, we wouldn't be able to come out here and play in Banff. And we have 5 more events after this, I think. So those guys are huge. Thanks to all our family watching at home this year. It's got to be hard not being here watching us, but we're trying our best with the streaming. And we appreciate what you guys are doing here. The streaming's great. We've heard lots of great comments on it for our family.
Well, that's great. Well, look, sponsors, please keep sponsoring these events as well as these curling teams. Can't do it without you. Well, great. That's Jeremy Harty, the skip of Team Harty. They'll be playing against Team Cooey, or they are playing right now against Team Cooey. Thanks for taking the time, Jeremy. Good luck, not just in the finals today, but the rest of the season. And I know a lot of people will be watching you.
Awesome. Thanks, Steve.
All right. Well, that was Jeremy Harty giving us a little bit of an insight into what we can expect in this afternoon's match. I am more than pleased to welcome back Chelsea Carey. She was here this morning with Tana Martin giving you great commentary. You're stuck with me, but you've got the expertise of Chelsea Carey. You're going to go to the Brier
again.
And Chelsea, maybe set this game up for us. What do you think of the keys to Kevin Cooey prevailing, and what do you think Jeremy Harty has to do here in order to win?
I think the biggest thing for Jeremy Harty is just going to be my dad used to call it paper bag theory. Pretend you don't know who you're playing against, as if they're all wearing paper bags on their heads, because it's so easy with Kevin Cooey's resume to kind of beat yourself before the game gets started. I think also for them, it'll be beneficial to keep it a little bit simple maybe. Don't go too crazy, because we talked about it a little bit with Kevin Cooey against Brendan Botcher. The nightmare is giving Kevin Cooey a double for 4 or 5, because he just makes a lot of them. So stay patient, just keep it close early and then pull it out in the end. And for Kevin Cooey, I don't think they need to do much different. They know how to win these games, obviously. So for them, I think it's going to be to make sure they stay focused and stay intense. This is a young team they've maybe not been quite as exposed to as some of the teams they would see on tour. So strategy might be a little bit different, things like that. So make sure they maintain their focus early, and then just let Kevin Cooey do what Kevin Cooey does.
Well, he just does double runbacks, knock one off the butt and take 4. But Kevin Cooey and Jeremy Harty, they did play each other earlier. They played in the A finals, the A event finals. Cooey did prevail, as Jeremy stated. They let a 4 get on them, and that's what Kevin does best.
Yeah, that's the thing, is you'll see a lot of close games that Team Cooey's involved in. They don't usually run away with stuff early. They'll just hang one big brutal end on you. And sometimes that's the precision of the whole team, and sometimes it's Kevin making a hero shot. But that's what you have to watch out for, and that's why I say maybe a little bit more open. Try not to walk into that end too early. If you're close in 7 and 8, I like your chances.
Well, there you go. And if someone's going to know about that, it's going to be Chelsea. Thanks, Chelsea. We've also got John Morris and Ben Hebert mic'd up for Team Cooey, and we've got Jeremy Harty Harty, and Kyler Kleibrink mic'd up for Team Harty. And we'll let them speak once in a while, but certainly with the wisdom and strategy of Chelsea, we'll let her help us understand a little bit of what's going on out there at this top level of a game.
Yeah, a lot of times they do it for me. I don't have to do much once I get John and Ben talking about a shot.
Hard early, hard early.
No. I don't think so.
Benny,
Sure.
Benny, we got you.
Okay, it felt there to me, guys.
Stay close. I got you. Yeah. No, easy.
Back tee.
Clean. Yep. Never stop.
Hard beach.
Never stop. Never stop. It's gonna slow down here.
Hard beach.
It's gonna slow down here.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Great sweep, guys. Good job.
Curl's pretty good, eh?
Take this roll.
Now, if you're going to place the first 4 rocks somewhere for a strategy session to talk to people about Chelsea, this might be what you do.
Yeah, it's a good setup. My only concern for Team Harty here is that they would have liked those guards a little further apart and a little bit more dead in line
Good normal.
than they are. That's a pretty makeable double peel for anyone the skill set of all of Team Cooey. So I think eventually you'll probably see those ripped off. But I like the idea of it. You don't want to just let them run and blank the first end. Let's put a little pressure on them early. I think you want to bail early here if you're Team Harty, and that's not a bail so much, but it's a more defensive call, which I think is smart for them in the first end. But you know, get right after them right away in the sense of at least don't let them get settled in and comfortable with the hammer. You'd like to flip that hammer around as quick as you can.
I like almost normal here, Koo. I don't mind. I've seen a hair more ice though.
You see there Team Cooey having the hammer. They
Control.
got that by winning the A event. The top team coming into the championship round does get the choice of hammer and practice, and they chose hammer. And Harty then chose the color yellow.
Boy, Johnny.
Good.
Fucking shooter, McGavin.
That is a perfect shot right there. You couldn't walk that down and put it in a better spot than that. And I mentioned it a little bit on the broadcast this morning.
can you ever get
Hitting and
enough
rolling is probably the most underrated shot in terms of how difficult it actually is in the game. They're just not automatic, and you see teams all the time go, well, geez, I don't want to leave them that hit and roll. Leave it for them. It doesn't get made that much. Like, they're just really hard shots. So I think, I mean, that one, obviously, they're sort of making me eat my words here a little bit, but it really is a difficult shot, even though they made it look easy there.
So if you're playing Kevin Koo and he's got a hit and roll the button or a run back double, you're going to leave him the hit and roll?
You might. It depends if the run back is an out turn or not, maybe a little bit.
Some secrets there.
Yep. Hard.
Trying to run their own yellow back in. Have to avoid the top one, though.
I kind of like the guard, guys.
Double guard.
It's early.
I don't hate the double guard either. I got a third. How much separation's between them? So it's hard to make that double high side, with what you can see? Yeah. So I think we either play the double guard or a open side back 8 on the same shot that Benny shot.
Yeah, we don't want that. Yeah, I'm into the guard, Koo.
Huh?
Yeah, just dead guard the blue.
Okay. Try to keep it nice and high here. Speed's good.
Pros and cons, Chelsea, to the selection. Obviously, they were talking back 8 again, and I guess keeping it out of the way in case those 2 blues are run, that they don't pick the back one out, or the guard. Any thoughts on
I
which
like
one?
the guard. It was my first thought. I think if you're going to the wing, though, I think their hesitation there is that the wing that they know is the intern side, but that maybe sets up a triple if you put it in the wrong place. I think if you were going to the wing, you'd want to go to the other side, but they haven't thrown that yet. So I think part of it is knowing the ice. It's also, you heard Ben say it's early, and that's because you don't want to throw double guards on the center line rocks with the hammer late in an end. But for now, you're probably just going to make Team Harty waste a few and throw some double peels. So not bad. They would have liked that longer than this. They swept it at the end to try to get it to curl so that they're lined up, but definitely tighter to the rings than they would have liked, and you're going to see a double run, double attempt coming up right here.
Go back thinner than it looks. Yeah. 2/3, I think. Yeah.
I think the thing that'll be interesting to watch with this new dynamic for Team Cooey with the addition of John Morris is we saw it a little bit when with their former team with Brent Lang and Mark Kennedy, who are both very knowledgeable and would share their opinions, and it slowed the game way down, and they actually struggled with it a bit, and they had to kind of work it out, and they got there. But I think that's what you're going to see a little bit with Ben and John, both very opinionated. It worked well with BJ and Colton last year. The dynamic did, because BJ's also a little bit quieter, so they kind of let Kevin take the reins a bit. And I think they're doing a pretty good job, but I think that's going to be the thing to watch is just, you know, John Morris is one of the most knowledgeable players in the game as far as strategy and angles and everything go, but they're going to have to find a balance with Kevin and his confidence with John's extra input.
Unfortunately, John and Kevin have played before together, so there'll be some knowledge. And also, we've already seen where BJ is sweeping and John's holding the broom in the house.
Yeah, for sure. And the interesting thing about John and Kevin playing together before is that John actually skipped that team. So then the dynamic wasn't as different, because John could be himself and be opinionated, and it was him who was throwing the last rock. I don't think Kevin minds the chatter. I think the thing is just making sure that his confidence as a shot maker stays high when there's so much discussion, because we did see that come into play a few times early in their Olympic team's run when they were still figuring out the dynamic with Mark and Brent.
Go, Johnny, go! Push, push, push! Go! Keep going! Fuck.
Looks like he was referencing that truck that just pulled into the parking lot, Chelsea. We've had a few trucks come in over the
Yeah,
over
Ben
this
notices
event.
all the trucks. It's amazing how that works.
Yeah, and there's been a few sheeps in the field.
Do we ever get both, or it's not lively enough? Yeah, it's probably, that's just not
So the anger there is because they would have liked that behind the tee line, because now you can actually use it to come off. You could end up shot rock at least half buried here. If you make it, you might actually even touch all three of these potentially.
Yeah, they were set up really nice and building upon a multiple score end here, and now they've seemingly let them off the hook. But of course, Kyler's got to make the shot first.
Yeah, for Kyler, a lot about limiting the damage here, even if this isn't made perfect, to try to kill two blues at least and cut it down, because it's looking like a bit of trouble right now. Sweeping this to make it curl. Needed that to curl a little bit more, even though it ended up in the open. It wouldn't have been so bad if you killed that outside blue, but now for Team Cooey, your two blues in there are very separated, and you can probably get to the nose or a shade to the inside of this yellow, possibly.
Hey, I think in this path.
Yeah, let's make it the beach. Yeah, just heavy draw, right? Back line.
This was the swingier side of the sheet in the earlier game, so I'll have to think that that will stay the same, which is going to work in their favor here, because it does look like a little piece of that rock is buried, so he can see probably somewhere between 3/4 and 7/8.
Easy, easy.
Just there, just there.
Mows on. Back line. We're not heavy. Middle.
Benny.
Come on.
They're by. Do they have enough weight to get that out? And of course, you can't sweep behind the line. It's got to be hard to just cheer for it to keep moving.
That would drive me crazy, and I'm not even a sweeper. I'm just a skip. Like, for Ben to stand there and watch that must just be killing him inside.
We were saying, actually, with that new rule that it might be a health and safety thing. Now skips won't hurt themselves having to try and sweep.
But none of the skips dislike that rule, I'm telling you. We just don't sweep at all. You yell at the person who swept the rock all the way down to keep going with it.
Next time it might.
They got no gas in the tank, and you're still yelling at them to keep going. And they do, because they know what the consequences of stopping are.
Or might be easier to get there that way. Yeah, it's just hard to play out on that.
So the two options here is to hit the open
I
one
think we got to
and
get here.
try and get a roll, or to try and freeze
Either hit
down. Do you ever
noise
run the
rather.
yellow back?
Because here,
I don't mind running it back. If you
Always
don't
line it
make
up.
noise on those blues, you're in trouble, but there's a lot of good things that could happen. You could make the run double and sit 2. It is there.
I think we roll open there, Jer. Yeah, I guess if we put it right beside it, make an easy double, but still. I guess
then we have an easy double after. Well,
we would want to make the run double if we're going to play it.
the double now.
I guess if you just miss it, it goes there.
Yeah, I might get all 3. Or no, just gets these 2. But
What if you put it right on the button, the way it swoops in?
you might still get 3. He just hacks it.
This way with the big swing, like
Yeah.
back here even.
He probably could still just hack it out.
I don't think so. You only got how much of this? A quarter?
No, he'll just come right to ours. Like we can't.
If we go there and he freezes, we freeze again. We're out of it. I don't mind the run if we do know the spot. I
Yeah,
threw
let's
it,
play
but
the. Yeah.
I think we're probably giving 4 if we.
Yeah. Well, if I rub off this, it's 4 or 5. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's
'Kay,
make it.
straight back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yours are in dead straight
I
there.
think this is the call, and it's going to sound hard to believe, but it's really close to being a nose hit. Just a shade on the high side, or the right-hand side as we look at this, I think is perfect. Even for Team Harty here, if you jam one of them, and you might sit second and third, that's still better. At least you're maybe cutting it down to a deuce. I think if you play some kind of freeze here, as I think Kyler pointed out for us there's a real good chance you give up 3 or 4.
Yeah, that's their worry, is giving up that 3 or 4. And I think you're right. If you just nut this on the nose, and it should solve the problem that they're facing right now. But he's got to make the shot. It's the first shot here from Tyler Harty.
Whoa!
Josh! Hard! Hard, Josh! Hard, Josh!
Nice shot.
That's the double they were going for.
They did talk about it as an option. They did actually discuss that, and that's what I don't mind about. Like, it sounds insane to say that a double run back, or a run back double, sorry, is. It's not that it's not that hard, but they had multiple things that could go well there, and really, as long as you kill 2 blues somehow, which they just did, it's pretty good. At least, like I say, hopefully for them, will give them a chance to hold this to 2, which the way this end has gone, they'd be pretty happy with right now.
Yeah, and then we got the blank. You got to make it or it's a deuce.
Yeah.
That's really good. You got to stay second, though.
I think nose or hair wiggle in, Kev.
Like the draw.
I think it's yeah. We know,
I do love the terms they come up with. A nose or a hair wiggle in.
Yeah, John's got some interesting ones.
Easy. Should be right about there, eh?
Yeah, that's all good. Nose hit, Koo? Sure, I like that.
Does this mean that Kevin's sort of settling into secures 2? Thinking is he'll hit this, then Hardy will hit the open one, and then it'll be a draw in for 2.
Yeah, for Kevin Cooey, pretty happy with the deuce. Would have loved a 3 or a 4, obviously, but want to make sure you get out of this with 2. If it ever turns into a 4, you feel like you got robbed a little bit. So just make sure you get a multiple point here for them. So hit this on the nose. If they ever did roll in behind, you might set up a 3-point score, but you might also leave a run double. So that's why they're thinking nose here.
Good shot, Kev. Oh, boy. Real good.
Just gotta nudge it, or we go for nose, and then they have a tough hacker.
2. Yeah. I think we just.
Both is good. What weight do you want to throw?
Thinking both. Just light board.
Light board, sure.
Yeah.
So he's going to actually
Do you want
chase
me to
the
go
one
for
the
nose or
shot.
go for the double?
I think
It's kind of, I gotta choose at the hog line probably.
You could, I think they're thinking that they might be able to make the double. I think it's probably hard to get to the nose here. Might be possible,
If you
but
want, we could throw.
that is a spot we've seen run a little bit straight around the center line. But if you throw bumper, you don't have to move that second blue rock very far because you're gonna save your shooter. So you could potentially sit 2 out of this. The challenge is where you roll 2 might leave Kevin Cooey a double back.
Just light board.
So the defensive call would be to rip the open one and give him his 2. The offensive call here is to still think you can hold him to 1 with a tougher shot.
Yeah, for sure. It's just a bit of a risk-reward situation here. Obviously, the open hit is the easiest shot, but it's a guaranteed 2. This way, you might have a chance to hold him to 1, but it's a much tougher shot for Jeremy Harty.
When you're facing a team like Cooey too, you almost got to take advantage of the advantages when you get it.
That's the thing, is a 2-point lead isn't much, but it is against Kevin. With down to Kevin Cooey 2-0 is tough. Unless you get a deuce back right away, you're in trouble. So it's definitely a little bit here about trying to factor in all those things and making a decision based on the risk, not only of the shot, but of the team you're playing against as well.
Go, Kurt, go!
So it's going to come. It's seemingly coming.
I got caught right in between here. They needed that to curl a little less to make the little tick double they were looking at. I think that was probably on the low side of the weight. They were talking light bumper, but that hit 3/4 of the rock and didn't move it out of the house. So that's more like light hack. I think that's maybe what caused the confusion, is they thought it needed to curl based on assuming it was a little bit more weight than it actually was.
Yeah, because he did want to have enough to get it through, because he did want to be able to rub the other one. So
yeah, if he touches the other one, he probably, with that weight, he might not move either one of them out. So, and it's, we're splitting hairs here a bit. We're talking a couple feet different, but and the way to miss that was light. If you're ever heavy, you blow it by everything, and you give him a draw for 3. So, being a little bit critical, but I think that was the issue with the line call. You know, they called on the outside sweeper to have that curl, and it actually over curled.
Kevin not taking on the double. He probably would jam, so he's just going to try and take this one out, sit for 2, and
Clean, make sure it's got enough weight. That's the big thing.
It has lots of weight.
Okay. Nice roll, Kev.
Boy, Kev. Nice
Yeah,
loose
the
toss.
double certainly jams there, I think. So no sense in taking that on. Take your 2 and run with it.
so we open the scoring here in the finals of the ATB Banff Classic. Kevin Cooey and Team Cooey taking on Jeremy Harty and Team Harty. It's a 2-0 start. Cooey scoring 2 with the hammer in first, and we'll go to the second end. And Team Harty will have the hammer. I'm joined here today by Chelsea Carey. She was here this morning talking and doing the live stream, and she's here this afternoon. And thank you very much for coming up, Chelsea. And it's going to be a pleasure to hear your thoughts on these 2 great teams as we continue here in the final match at the ATB Banff Classic.
It's my pleasure to be here. I was going to be sitting at home watching the live stream. I figured I might as well take a scenic mountain drive and be part of it instead.
Well, that's awesome. And hopefully we'll have you back up here after Christmas. You've supported and played in the Qualico mixed doubles in the past, and I know we're just waiting on some decisions of what's going to happen with the different teams being able to come in. And you've got a mixed doubles partner, Colin Hodgson, I understand, and we're getting into an Olympic year, so I guess he's the one you're going to take a run with?
Yeah, we played together for a bunch of years, actually, since it came in, except for last year, because he had some there were some conflicts and some reasons and things, and so he couldn't make it work last year, but he's coming back this year. So yeah, we apparently did too good a job supporting that event, because it filled up so quickly that we're on the waiting list. But hopefully get in. It's an absolutely world-class event. Of course, Qualico stepping up to support that have been my sponsor for years, and John's for years as well. They're an amazing company, and that event is just absolutely world-class. The ice conditions are fantastic. Usually Darren Moulding comes in to do the ice at both rinks, and you can't have a bad day curling in the mountains anyways, but it's also just an absolutely world-class event. So we're crossing our fingers that we get to be part of it again.
Yeah, we'll show you the view outside at some point during this game, because it's absolutely gorgeous. I don't know how curlers even focus on this.
It's hard to focus, although actually the fact that the mountains are a little bit blurred because of the snow is maybe helpful, because on a clear day it's hard not to stare at that when you're on the ice. It's easy to get distracted.
And there it is, Qualico Mixed Doubles Classic. The logo's right there. In fact, we've had a few teams who've aimed at it.
Yeah, yeah, they've referred to it a few times. Right on the Qualico.
Right here. Yeah. Pease, what is this?
Of course, the curlers couldn't do what we do as far as our own travel, our own teams travel, but events couldn't run without the support of the sponsors. And Qualico's a great one of that event, but ATB stepping up to run this little sort of new circuit that has been built in Alberta, and kind of last minute for them to step in and step up has been a huge help to these teams who otherwise were looking like they might not have much to play in because of all the travel restrictions and the Grand Slams being cancelled. That it's been really great to see, and was chatting with John before the game, and he said it's gone really well, and you know, he's thinking that maybe it could be a viable event series even in years where we do have those events, just because of how well it's done here.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited to do it. It's nice coming to smaller communities and exposing not just the communities to these athletes, but also some of those teams that are looking to develop and grow. And when you get a chance to watch, observe, play against these top teams, it can only elevate your game. And of course, for these top teams, a chance to play for some money, but also get some reps in.
100%, and we were joking about it. He said, John said, you know, it's nice to not play the top teams in the world every week, and that's true. When you go to the Grand Slams, they're awesome, but it's not that hard to lose some games, and then your confidence starts to slip, and then how do you get it back? There's something to be said for sometimes playing against different teams. It's also interesting because they throw a different strategy at you that you don't see. Like when you play the top teams, because we all play them so much, if these guys go out and play, well, even Cooey and Botcher earlier, but if Kevin goes out and plays Brad Jacobs or Nicholas Edin, they know what the call is. They know what Nicholas is going to do in the first end if they throw the guard, if they don't. You know, for me, when I go play Rachel Holman, I know that if I want some offense in the first end and they have the hammer, I better throw a guard because they would love a blank. And I know if I play Jennifer Jones, I don't need to. I go top four, she goes corner guard. Like, it's just pretty prescriptive. You kind of know everybody's patterns and strategies, and not that they don't throw you a curveball every so often, but it's kind of fun to play against a team where you're like, geez, if we do that, what are they going to do? You know, because you don't know. You're not familiar with them, and there's something to be said for that too. And very much to your point, for me growing up in Manitoba, having to get past Jennifer Jones to get out of the province, people always ask me, like, isn't that so frustrating that you're one of the top 5 or top 10 teams in the world and you can't get out of your province? And I said, well, yeah, but it's also the reason that when I got to the Scotties, I was in contention all the time, because you get that good by playing those good teams all the time. And so in Manitoba, we were very lucky. In Alberta, we're very lucky with the depth. And it's a blessing and a curse in the sense that it's really hard. I mean, Kevin Cooey won the Brier as a rookie in 2010 because he had to get past Kevin Martin coming out. But he goes to his very first Brier and wins. You know, that's not the case if you get there without playing against those good teams and developing those skills. So there's good and bad to it, but certainly the opportunity for some of these teams, especially the young teams like a Jeremy Harty, even Karsten Sturmey that we saw earlier, it's a huge opportunity for them to get to play against these teams. And you know, it can be tough, it can feel pretty humbling at times, but that's how you learn and it's how you get better.
Real close. Still bouncing.
We're on second rocks here in the second end. Team Cooey 2-0. Got a really good shot from Joshua Kiss coming right in here to freeze on top of the one on the button.
Nice shot.
That is nearly perfect.
Okay, hey, boys.
It looks like we're going to start to stack up.
Yeah, we're going to see a stack coming at us here for Team Harty, hoping for a slight miscue so that they get a chance to set up a multiple point end. Don't want to sell the farm here. You want a 2 back, but you don't want to, you know, give up a steal of 2 either. So a little bit of caution is in order. But when you're 1 down without the hammer, so if they were to get forced here, when you're 1 down without the hammer, you're in way more trouble than you think you are. If you look at the analytics and your chances of winning that game against anyone, never mind against Kevin Cooey. So definitely looking to hang something crooked on the scoreboard if they can. This might be the little mistake they were hoping for.
Yeah, that one just seemed to hang out.
I think just a foot heavy probably. Like that line is probably pretty good if it's got a foot less weight, or if it has a foot less weight, it might also curl up to the nose. That's how, again, the precision required here. Like that's a really good shot. But if Team Harty gets to the inside and now you sit 2 frozen on that, if you can stack 2 yellows on that shot rock, all of a sudden it's trouble for Team Cooey.
Well, and Josh just threw the other one, so you're asking the same player to duplicate something that you never want to let someone have the same shot twice.
Yeah, ideally not, for sure. So.
Right? We'll leave their blue back there. Yeah, but if we roll under, we're going to be over here.
Just roll a couple
Then our
inches.
yellow comes.
Okay.
Just a half rock.
Looks like a photo shoot the way they're standing there.
Yeah, just hack.
Posing for the cameras.
Yep. Down. Hard. Give her. Oh boy. Give her. Hard. Hard, Kurt. Gotta
Don't
go.
want to touch that blue
Way
one
down.
up top.
Hard. Hard. You gotta go.
Kirk Goller going really hard to
Kurt,
hold
you got
this.
it. Hold it. Keep going. Hard. Right to. Hard. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Oh, what a sweep. I thought he was hitting half the guard when he let that go. That is an incredible brush.
That's Kurt Galler on the
runner or the
sweep.
pin
That was
beach?
Kleinbrink on the cheerleading, and that was Harty on the yell, and Joshua with the sweat coming down his head. Great team shot there.
That is a world-class end-to-end. People ask, you know, about curling being a sport and about the players being athletes. That right there is
Prime
why.
plant today?
To be able to have the steam to do that from one end to the other and keep that technique and that pressure on the broom head. If he let off at all, if he got tired at all, that would have been on the guard for sure.
He doesn't have much on the other side, does he?
Okay. Hey, Beach, top 8. Hold on here, hold on here, hold on here. Go ahead, John.
Yeah.
This.
Speed's nice here.
Yeah.
Real nice.
Hey, Beach. Oh,
I like it.
oh, I think
like
we're there.
it.
Oh, I think we're there. Oh, no.
It's not something you want to hear.
Coming
Trying.
down. Coming down.
Come on.
Wait. Yeah. It's good. Room. Oh.
Needs to stop hard.
Okay.
Try and get to nose.
I think that worked out
You
pretty
think?
good.
How hard?
We just have to push this to 8 foot.
Same as Josh's
Still
then?
leaves a
14-ish?
chance here for
Yeah, I think like 13.
Team Harty.
If
You
we-
certainly
can we
can't get rid of
overthrow
both of those
accidentally
blues
get a
right now,
yellow
and you don't
first,
need
or
to.
No, we can't get to our yellow.
Just get another yellow frozen in there on that shooter that BJ just threw, and set yourself up for later. The more yellow rocks you can have frozen to blue rocks here for Team Harty, the better. It gives you potential for multiple score at the end of the end.
And having them on top, obviously, because the one's behind go. And you know at some point, Cooey's setting up the angles. That blue center line rock will likely be fired into the house.
Yeah, it actually could be by either team, depending on how the angles shape
Yeah.
up, but I do see it being run back eventually.
It is all about angles now. This reminds me of mixed doubles game where really it's draw the first 7 around and then
Yeah, and always to the middle unless it's a power play. That's the thing about mixed doubles because of the pre-placed rocks, and you can't hit any rocks whether they're in the house or not for the first few. So this is what the ends tend to look like. It's all about locking freezes and setting up angles.
Yeah, because it goes off the back. It goes
it's almost a goose formation of a V there in the front.
Yeah, it is forming a bit of a V. Unfortunately, would have liked a little bit more curl on that for Jeremy Harty. That hung out a little bit to the high side, and might leave a combo takeout here for Kevin Cooey. I'm not sure if the yellow clips that back blue or not. It's close. But I don't think it matters. I think you want to loosen that angle up. The biggest problem rock for you right now, if you're Kevin Cooey, is that top yellow, which sounds silly because it's 4th or 5th shot, but that's the one that's going to potentially get you into some trouble. So as long as you move those around and hopefully kick that out in the open a little bit, you're probably pretty happy.
You got to throw it pretty hard? Or?
And the good thing for Harty is a lot of those ones in the back and the wall that be formed would make a final draw when these all explode. A little easier for him. Let's listen in now and hear their discussion and strategy, although we can't because Morris and Hebert at the other end are the ones that are mic'd up.
I'm sure they're talking strategy too.
I thought they're talking about what Pete's would order after the game, but
Feel her in the nose.
Beach, this is going to run dead straight for you. Might even fall a bit. Eh? Okay. Dead nose.
So straight side of the sheet, as we mentioned before, just a little reminder there from Ben. Basically all that is don't miss this on the wide side. Don't set it too much. You can hold it if it's that straight or if it might
Hard
fall
on.
a little bit on its own. It's just a little thought for the thrower to be mindful of.
Shot Beach.
Great shot.
really good shots. A lonely yellow. But yellow's throwing, so chance to do something themselves here.
Yeah, they're shot and throwing. I think the
Control.
bad news now with
Control,
the way
yeah.
that went is that even if you make a perfect double and roll behind the guard here, which you certainly could do, it's a real short run back double for somebody as good at run back doubles as Kevin Cooey is.
Just control. The roll's the most important. Roll under. You just stay off it for the first little bit. It's falling off.
Whoa. Close. Whoa. Josh. 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 Hard.
I
Hard.
missed a bend
Hard,
over,
Josh.
trying
Hard,
to
Josh.
directionally sweep
Hard,
it.
Josh.
Hard, Josh. Hard, Josh.
Hard, Josh.
Hard. Keep going. Okay.
Pretty good shot. Would have liked that to curl an inch more, so they got a little bit more roll underneath. But
Looks
I
like
think
it
it's
goes,
a
eh?
little piece buried, so makes
Does
it
it go over the top of
makes
the back ones?
Cooey at least look at his options here.
Can you see 3/4 of this?
Oh, yeah. I think if you got to hit 2/3, though, you got to kind of hit it thick and go over the top of those back ones.
Yeah, because if you hit it too thin, it's just going into the can of the back
It's
here.
never going into that. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I think, too.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I do, too, Kev.
I think it's, yeah, it's close.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So they're pretty
Hard.
confident that
Two-thirds,
that
Scoop.
will go through that hole, and even if it doesn't, it might jiggle around the blue, but it'll get out. It won't jam.
It is possible to jam it, but it is also
touch this
possible to
one
make
for
the
sure.
shot. So they're just talking about exactly where they want to hit it.
I
Ben
see-
saying
I see
2/3. I tend to
2/3.
agree with him. That if you hit about 2/3 of that, it should go between those two blues on the side, underneath the top one and across the top of the back one.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Clean, yep. Hard. Good. Nice.
And it does.
Absolutely perfect. They're not taking it easy on the kids so far.
No, well, probably a good reason. First place does get $9,000. Second place still getting $6,000. But that difference of $3,000 is probably motivation enough. Plus, you know, they
Doesn't
played in
go
Airdrie last week. I think, you know, they probably expected to do better. I mean, certainly in these fields, there are good teams, and any week can be anyone's week. So them not winning isn't an absolute shock, but I don't think they expected to exit as early as they did. And I think this week it's a chance to just remind everybody that that was maybe an off game.
I agree, and if I'm not mistaken, they were tied with the Hammer coming home in that game and gave up a steal to lose, which is very uncharacteristic. So definitely would. I don't think any of them are thinking about the money right now. To be totally honest with you, that's a bonus. I think they're just like, to be this good, to be as good as these guys are, you have to be that competitive. That you just want to win for the sake of wanting to win. It's that the rest of it happens anyway, and once you're done and you're sitting around having a beer after the game, you're like, hey, we won this much money. That's great. But on the ice, you're not thinking that. So for Jeremy Harty here, the only good news about this situation is that he does have a bit of room to draw here, but this is a path that I'm not sure they've seen as much. We did see the Team Cooey Stone come down earlier quite a bit when Ben thought it was heavy partway down. So
Right off, right off.
need this to sit, though, in a pretty big hurry here. Looks like it should
a bit
be
deep, so
okay.
we have room to. Okay, okay.
I did poke out the other side,
Yeah.
and that pick across is lots of blue. Looks like they'll just do a heavy draw down and
Yeah, you
push
only
it
got to
back.
move it a couple feet. So by throwing a little bit less weight, you take the risk of a jam out of this. Or, sorry, reduce the risk of a jam. I suppose you still could, but got to try to get close to nose here.
What happens if you jam our back one there? Anything?
No, if you jam this, we're 1-2 here, and I don't see this going.
That's okay?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
for him to throw this, theirs is going to be right here, and it's.
Okay. Perfect.
I mean, well, Cooey would love a steal here. He's really looking at how to make sure he gives up the one,
How
right?
big
And
is that
starts to
hole
pull
down
away.
there with like a.
You take a steal if
Yeah,
you got
he
it,
does that.
but
I'm just wondering
one
about
up
the
with the
jam.
hammer
I mean, you
is
can
every
throw
bit
any
as
way
good
you
as
want.
3 up without it.
Yeah,
I
Darren-
actually would suggest it's maybe even a little bit better. I don't know the analytics on that offhand, but I think your odds of winning 1 up with are always pretty good. So
We don't want to have too much curl in here.
Okay.
the
Yeah,
thing
I
with
like
5
you
rock
guys-
rule is that giving the hammer back. So if you're 3 up, but Team Harty still has the hammer, 2s and 3s are very much in play all the time in the 5 rock rule. So to have a lead and the hammer, I think, is more beneficial than a bigger lead.
Yeah, it's been great watching the 5 rock rule just because it does generate offense. It's like the mixed doubles where you're not just trying to run out and peel guards. Certainly if a few shots are missed or rocks come in the house, it does make it a little bit more freer. But we've seen lots of ends where there's only maybe 1 or 2 rocks that are through the house. Everything else is somewhere out in play.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me, the reason I like the 5 rock rule is because I feel like the 4 rock rule actually gave the advantage to the team without the hammer. You almost wanted to give it away because without the hammer you got 2 guards, but with the hammer you only got 1 because they could peel it after that. So you'd throw the second corner and then they'd run up and peel it. Now with the 5-rock rule, both teams get 2 guards. So it levels the playing field again and puts that advantage back in the hands of the team with the hammer, which I feel it should be. So that's my favorite thing about it, but certainly more offense is a huge part of it, and it's really hard to run and hide. So games aren't over as early. 3 or 4 point lead in the 4-rock rule, you're probably going, okay, well, we're not going to win this game. In the 5-rock rule, you never know.
Beach, beach.
Hard beach, hard.
Hard beach, keep going.
Hard. Good scrub.
Nice, very good.
Not exactly as they thought. They'd still sit 1 and 2, and Harty will just replace that rock that was just removed the same way he put it there the first time. This time he has a bit of backing, and I would suggest if he comes down to it, he probably wouldn't be shot, but at least he'd be second.
I'll just take a couple feet off and you can clean it.
Yeah, this should be the exact same draw he just threw. So, God, I think he'll be close. They thought his previous draw was heavy. What we have seen a little bit of, which is pretty common, is that when you throw a couple shots in the same spot in back-to-back fashion, it will get a little bit faster. So he's talking about taking a few feet off so sweepers can manage it a little bit more, but like his chances of being close here.
Needing full 8 foot plus a few inches.
Let's go. Careful, guys. Good path. Still going straight.
Final rock of N2.
How much nicer? Well, if you need backing, you gotta go now.
What the?
Jesus.
It's going to be at least 1 blue. Looking like probably 2 blue.
Wow.
So that rock is sliding a little bit too far.
Not the time I got.
So we'll have a Team Cooey taking 2 in the first and stealing 2 in the second. We'll head to 3, up 4-0, but Harty will have the hammer, and throughout this event he has shown the ability to score multiples on multiple occasions. So we'll expect a lot of offense coming out as they try to work their way back into this game.
Yeah, 2 right. This spot's real nice.
Thank all those people who've joined us. Please feel free to use the chat to ask us any questions you'd like. We'll try and answer those. This is the finals of the ATB Banff Classic. Of course, coming up in a few weeks' time will be the ATB Okotoks Classic, second part to the series. ATB, a great sponsor. Thank you very much for everything that you've been doing at these events. And a lot of these same teams will be there competing once again to earn the title in Okotoks. As you watch that first one come into the house towards the button, we'll just say a quick shout out. Thank you to our technical crew, Fania Young, who's been on audio. We've got the Oliver brothers, Thomas and Jamie, doing a great job with technical directing as well as the camera work. And of course, to my left right now is Chelsea Carey, who's come in to help with the commentating and bring us some great knowledge around the game. Chelsea, one thing I wanted to ask is, it seems like we're still tinkering with the game. We've 4-rock, we've gone 5-rock. There's been talk about the tick, or what if I touch the center line, don't remove it. Where's your head at in terms of what you think still needs to be solved with our game, or are we at a good point that maybe we should leave it alone for a while?
I think we're really close. I do think the tick maybe needs to be dealt with in some fashion. My concern about that,
I think the other side.
I like the idea of the center line. I actually like the idea, I think it was actually Don Bartlett's idea, where there's a tight, a halfway, and a long circle. And if you're inside the circle, it can't be ticked, and if you're outside it can be, because it makes a bit more precision, required from the team who's throwing the guards. But to me, as big an issue, more in the men's game than the women's game, but it's going to be common in both, is if you're going to take away the center guard tick, then you also need to take away the corner guard tick. And how do you do that? Because there's no line. So if they painted lines like this, then maybe you could get away with it. Maybe that's what needs to happen. I'm not sure how that all works. But so, again, I think if you take away one, you have to take away both. If there's a rule against ticking, there has to be a rule against ticking.
Yeah, we've seen more often than not, and we saw it a few times earlier, even on this live stream sheet, where they would bump the corner guard into the house so
Exactly.
they could remove
That's
it.
when that's the perfect that when I say corner guard tick, that's what I mean. You're not trying to get it anywhere other than in the house so you can hit it. You know, and it's actually in a lot of ways easier because you have the whole house to push it into, where so you can actually hit quite a bit of the rock as long as you're not heavy. We play it in mixed doubles. The corner guard tick gets played a lot and is getting made quite a bit as well. So you're going to see that come into play even more than it already has been. But so I just don't know that I agree with the idea of only taking away the center guard tick, but not the corner guard tick.
Yeah, some good thoughts as we think about one. You're right, you have to think of the other, because I like your point earlier that in the 4-rock rule, it almost gave the advantage to the people without last rock. And I think having last rock, you should feel like you've earned something, an advantage in the 5-rock rule, kind of swings that back. And hadn't really thought or heard about it that way, but I think you're really right in that. We have to be careful as we change these rules. We kind of don't disturb a balance.
Yeah, for sure. The hammer should still be an advantage, but I think taking away the center guard tick and not the corner guard tick is too much of an advantage for the hammer then, because now the team without the hammer gets their rocks ticked and the team with the hammer doesn't. So I don't know that I believe in that either. So it's an interesting time. I do think we're as close as we've been in a long time, though. I think the 5-rock rule is the right thing, and we're seeing it generate the offense and do the things it's supposed to do. So certainly on the right track. My only thoughts remaining are either 8 or 10 ends, which is an ongoing debate, and the tick rule.
You gotta play like.
If we punch the guard back house behind our guard, that's pretty good, isn't it? And then roll for a corner.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Might as well just run it back and roll for a corner at that point.
Yeah, move these two.
Whatever you like, Jer.
I think just make sure you just flip this way a little. Move these two.
Do you want down weight or big weight?
Thinking firm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we played this spot a lot. It's dead straight.
Do you like this call? Do you feel it's just getting too bunched in the middle that at some point you may not be able to make a play on it?
Yeah, that's the only challenge with the 5-rock rule for the team with the hammer is you get your 2 guards, but you also give them the chance to do this stack in the middle.
Just normal.
And you have to move them around. So whatever weight you choose to do it with, you just want to basically, if you make contact with all 3 of these and spread them out a little bit, hopefully roll your shooter away a bit, that's still a pretty good result. That overcurled a little bit on them. Would have liked to have that stay. It's not the most. It's still, I guess, a corner guard, but there's not a lot of rings back there behind that one.
Yeah, same exact throw, Johnny.
Team Cooey just electing to replace that guard. Usually when someone takes something away, it means it's a good thing to put back.
Yeah, not a lot of risk here again for Team Cooey sitting 2 and throwing, and those 2 rocks are in a pretty good position, so I think you'll see them throw this guard for as long as they can until there's some sort of combo made by Team Harty that might force their hand.
A bit more, hair more.
That's what I got. I got a hair more too. Okay, we can let this one work a bit.
Let it work.
Weight's pretty good.
Let it work.
We're not heavy, John. Halfway.
Johnny, you're in. Line's great. Line's great.
Well, leaving a high guard will leave a little more options for Team Harty, knowing how much the ice swings.
Yeah, you don't want it to be too high. That I think ended up in a pretty good spot.
Make it this time. Just catch them all. Just sit for.
Catch them all?
Yeah, just high. Just this side.
No, we want to stick for a corner.
What weight do you want, Jared?
Same weight.
Same weight?
We had our top teams actually move on through the event into the championship. The only one being Ted Appleman, who lost out in the C qualifier last night. But you had Botcher, number 2 ranked, Cooey, number 1 ranked, and Harty, who you would arguably be number 5 ranked or 4 ranked with Team Sturmey. There's a toss-up between them. Harty's ranked 15th in Canada and Sturmey's 16th. So certainly the top teams found their way through this event into the championships, and just the way it fell, Harty being able to upset Botcher in the B finals meant that he had the draw against Sturmey this morning and beat him, and it meant that Cooey and Botcher played in the other semifinal. A great game. I know it ended a bit early because of a tremendous shot by Kevin Cooey, but that was a back and forth. So you saw 2 heavyweights going at it early.
Yeah, it was really interesting to watch. It was more momentum swings than you often would get in a whole game within each end. It was back and forth all the time, and it seemed like, you know, somebody was looking great one shot, and then one would get missed, or one really good one would get made, and then all of a sudden it completely swung from a steal of 2 to a 3 for the team with the hammer, and really back and forth. And then, unfortunately for Team Botcher, that was a really good end for Team Cooey. He did have a shot for 1 to get out of it, but overcurled on him a little bit, and that was it. But that's how the games go with 2 teams that good.
Yeah, and you had Botcher and Cooey, the 2 top teams right now, and then you had Harty and Sturmey, arguably 2 of the up-and-coming teams in Alberta, who I'm sure we're going to see a lot out of them in the future. And it was great to see now Harty getting a chance here in the finals, and won 3 events last year in the World Curling Tour, and as I said, is ranked number 15 in Canada. So certainly a team that's already there, but certainly with a bigger future ahead.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was mentioning to Tana earlier, we had Sturmey versus Harty on sheet 2 in one semifinal, and Botcher versus Cooey, and I said it felt like the present and the future on the 2 different sheets with 2 teams that are so talented. Karsten Sturmey, and then of course Team Harty. I'm lucky enough to be a member at the Glencoe Club, as are both of these teams actually. That's an all Glencoe battle we've got going here, and I see them there. I see how hard they work at it, and they're only going upwards. This is just the beginning for them, and it's a pretty incredible beginning.
Well, they got the one behind their staggered guards, and were able to remove one. So certainly things looking better now for Team Harty. What does Cooey needs to do?
I don't think they can do much about that corner guard situation. They just have to try to stay shot rock here and not set up a triple, basically, for Team Harty to sit 2. Because it's a double corner guard and that yellow is so buried, it would take you several shots to get to that rock, so there's not much point in peeling now this late in the end. So switching gears and going on the offense here.
And twice earlier in this contest, in this event, Cooey got up on Team Hodgson. It was 7-2, and we kind of thought that game was going to end, and Hodgson came storming right back, and it went to the last rock. And even against Team Harty, Cooey got up early with that 4, but they brought it right back. So, Harty knows he can come back on Cooey, and Cooey knows he can come back on as well. So this game's certainly not over just because he's up 4-0.
Keep going, keep going, keep going. Yep, keep going.
Came down like crazy.
Yeah. Try beach.
Well, I think he'll have access on the center line to get down to that.
Yeah, I would have liked that to either curl a little less or slide a little further. You want it to either be covering shot rock or be second shot buried.
So roll away, hey?
A little bit in between, betwixt and between there for Team Cooey. It's not bad because it's a hard shot still, but it does give Team Harty an opportunity to lay 2 spread out in the house.
Does it move big here?
Whoa then, Kurt.
Whoa, Kurt, you got to move it a mile.
All right, Kurt.
A mile.
All right, close.
That's a long way.
Maybe just a slight exaggeration there. I definitely use that phrase all the time.
Is that supposed to be motivating? Well, it worked out really good for a rock that had to go a mile.
It went 1.25 miles. I think it actually could have even rolled further than that and been fine.
No, we're going to make this roll.
Okay.
We can roll anywhere here.
Okay. Good job. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, and even nose is okay, guys. Normal weight.
Clean. Whoa, beach. Steady. Whoa. Steady. Hard, beach. Hard.
Whoa. No.
That's pretty good.
Good shot, Kev.
So close to perfect. Rolled right into that hole. It's not a big hole, but it's there.
I think control for sure. It's just
Which way would you roll here, Chelsea?
Make him freeze on this
I
side.
think ideally you would probably roll behind the center line. And the only reason I say that is because if you roll behind the corner, it's going to force Kevin Cooey to draw around the center line. and then you might not have a shot. If you roll this underneath, he's probably going to play some kind of freeze, and you hope you get a slight miss out of him.
Make him nose back and then we nose back.
Yeah, let's play control, and you call for the roll.
Okay.
And if, yeah.
Just make the hole. We're pretty happy.
Yeah. Just control. Yeah, again. Yeah.
Looks like an airplay landing strip there, you know, lights on the right, lights on the left, and a straight hole right through.
Yeah, it's good.
Sometimes with a hole like that, it can almost be a blessing, and it sounds strange to say that, but it gives you some guidance. If you get through the hole, you're probably pretty close to making the shot. This one's a little bigger than that, but with a small hole where, you know, if you just get through it, so it kind of gives you a perfect line of where you need to be going versus trying to imagine how much it's going to curl once it gets through there to get to the back rock. You're like, if I just hit those uprights, I'm going to be perfect.
Right, Jeremy Harty's first rock of the end.
Yes! Hard, Kurt! Hard, Kurt!
Once again, Kirk being asked to hold the rock.
Hard! Hard! Keep going!
Oh, what a great sweep.
This is an absolute clinic about sweeping being put on here.
Normally we talk about Benny Hebert and what he can do, and certainly taking nothing away from him, but Kurt Galler is certainly putting on a show here. That's another time he's been asked to hold one, and that he did. A few chest heaves there as he comes waltzing back down the ice.
Well earned
his
chest
breath.
heaves. That was another like end right out of his hand, end to end, absolute brilliant sweep.
No.
Well, let's try and stick around for a shot if you can.
Fine.
It's all right. Be a straight draw for 2 for Jeremy Harty. That'll half the lead down.
Really important here for Team Harty to rebound with this too.
Yeah. I'll give it to you guys. Just put it on the tee. Yeah.
Kurt's probably saying, well, don't fully give it to me. You want to just...
The good news for him is he's on the curl side, so he shouldn't be the one doing the heavy lifting here.
Line's good. Josh clean.
Okay, line's good. Line's good. Make it
The
good,
line
guys.
just starting to sweep.
Put it
That's
on the
usually
tee.
a good feeling when you're...
Line's great.
Yep. Okay.
Timed good.
This
You're
looks
good.
to be really good.
I said T-top 4 right out of his hand, and it looks like that's exactly where it's going to end up. So
T-
big bounce back end there, really important,
good
like I
sweep,
said,
yeah.
for Team Harty. Just from a
Good end.
momentum standpoint, hang a couple points on the board, and now throw up a couple guards and go for your steals.
So at the end of 3 ends, we have a score of 4-2 for Team Cooey over Team Harty. Team Cooey will have the hammer playing in 4s. We approach the halfway point. Just want to say a big thank you to the people who have helped make this happen. That's ATB, our big sponsor, the one who's been our main supporter. Thank you very much for bringing us the ATB Classic, and in a few weeks, the ATB Okotoks Classic. To the Banff Curling Club giving up the rights, but also providing the volunteers that have allowed us to bring you this live stream and this event. The town of Banff, the own and operate this facility, for having the trust in us to bring you this event and put it on with these great athletes. And of course, Curling Alberta, who have worked tirelessly to make sure that curling's seen as a safe sport and that facilities are enabled to open should it be something they want to do. I should give a shout out again to our crew bringing you this great production. Certainly Chelsea's giving you some wonderful information, but we've also got Fenya giving us the audio. We've got Thomas and Jamie who are on the camera and technical directing, and a big shout out to Saxby. That's Saxby Young. He's way over in Finland, 9 hours difference.
Good
He's the one who
one.
put this
Good
whole
play.
thing together.
Line's
He's our
good.
executive producer.
Line's good.
He's been watching these late into the night and helping us troubleshoot when we had any issues. Big thank you to Saxby all the way over there in Finland.
No,
Okay,
right
that's
on
fine.
you, bro.
Yeah, go.
Go, Josh.
Josh, hard. Hard, get to the line. Get to the line.
But
Keep
as
it going.
high a guard as you can throw.
That's the idea. They're just sweeping to get it to curl. They didn't need that to go any further for depth, but wanted to get it as close to the center line as they can. It's pretty good there. So this is a tick we talked about coming up here from Benny Hebert.
I'll have to start renaming that the Qualico.
Yeah,
High
it is
guard-
right on the Qualico. I like that.
High guard,
Qualico, I like that.
High Garden Banff is now the Qualico.
Anything?
Whoa, whoa, Beach!
Yeah, right out, Beach. Right out.
Well,
The old COVID rule. You can't even sweep that, eh?
Jerry, you weren't getting that to the boards.
COVID, your percentages go up 10% in ticks now.
I think make it a good halfway
no, I'm
one.
not-
You know, he's saying that as a joke, but it's actually true. That's a huge difference in the rule because it also didn't have to be the skip in the old rules, sweeping the tick. So you could have your best sweeper there ready for it, and you know, it's when you're talking a foot, they could do that. They could make that happen. So not being able to sweep the tick makes the tick a lot easier to make. So if we didn't need a rule about the tick before, we certainly will now with the new COVID regulations.
you heard it here. COVID-10, we call it. 10% better on these ticks. Well, they need this one to stop. They don't want it to leak into the house.
Ooh,
And
just slid a little too far.
You know, Team Cooey
don't
doesn't
think
need
you're
to
all right
generate
with it, eh?
offense here. They can basically run this for a few ends, but
just
given the
control.
opportunity, you certainly know they'll try to put it away.
Want to roll it over there?
I like that.
I'm in. Out turn cross.
Pretty.
Control. Yes, make this roll.
It's really nice when they
Gradual
tell
fall.
us. They almost do the commentating for us, Shelley.
I don't think we need commentators. We just need to make sure Ben's mic'd, and there might be some trucks driving by, but you also know what's going on.
Well, looks like they're going
Beach.
to nose it. That's usable as a guard for
Absolutely,
Team
it is.
Harty.
Team Jeremy Harty's going to run up there as fast as he can and throw a guard on that, I would think.
Are we going to hit it? We
Is
could
it
guard
in or
it.
no?
I don't know. We'd have to measure. True. If we hit, it's blank, right?
So Chelsea,
Or you wanna
are
go?
you allowed to measure that in
You
the
are
middle of
allowed
the
to
game?
measure
Can you
it.
ask for it? Okay.
Yeah, so the only measurement that you're allowed in the middle of an end is to determine if the rock's in or out of the house and the free guard zone stones. Other than that, you have to wait till the end of the end to measure it, and it's actually even illegal to, I see people in clubs and things using their foot or a broom or something to try to measure. That is illegal, but you can use the 6-foot stick during the free guard zone to determine whether it's in or out.
Looks like what they want to do, and Goller's going to head over and grab it. It's kept in the corner. He's going to pass it to Kyler, saying, hey, I've done enough sweeping. You take this down there. They'll both come down. Why not?
Why not?
While we do that, you mentioned the 8 or 10 rock rule. Chelsea, what are your thoughts on that? Not to put you on the spot, of course.
So I'm torn about it, which I actually think a lot of us are. My personal opinion is that for the betterment of the game, everything should be 8 ends because it fits better into a TV time slot versus a 10 end game is a little bit too long for a traditional TV time slot, and TV is the future of the game. It's how we're going to be successful. So we want to maximize our television revenues as far as sponsorships and advertising. I do think that there is a tradition involved in 10, and having the Scotties and the Brier B10 is just how it's been for so long that it's a bit hard to want to change that, but I also think it leads to more blank ends in those games. In a 10-end game, you don't mind burning an end or two, so it's less interesting to watch. So I think from a sponsorship standpoint, from a viewer standpoint, it should be 8. I know the players struggle with that a little bit, myself included, but I think it's the best thing for the future of the game, personally.
I mean, is it not true that a longer game would I guess give the advantage to the better team?
That's what they say, yeah. I think with the 5 rock rule, though, that equalizes it a little bit. I still think that it's maybe true, but again, the point to me is if we want the game to grow and be better, we need more viewers, we need more sponsorship. And both of those are going to be more easily accomplished with games that fit into a shorter time period and that are more offensive throughout versus games that are boring to watch on TV that are a little too long for a traditional TV time slot.
And I know they're also trying to show more and more of the lead and second rocks where in the past, they would do more and more advertising that early on, and then you'd kind of watch the back end of it.
My dad won the Brier in 1992, and their lead at the time, his name is Don Rudd, and they were at a banquet speaking at one of the closing banquets of a curling club or something, and Donnie Rudd went up to the microphone and he said, "Hi, I'm Don Rudd, also known as the Labatt's Light commercial." Because you never got to see his rocks, and Labatt's was the title sponsor at the time, so there was always a commercial, and then it would cut in at Second Stone. So he identified as the commercial at that point in time, so it is true. And now we see the commercial play kind of on the side, but then you can also see the game because lead rocks, in 5-rock rule, lead rocks are so important and so precise. The placement needs to be so precise in order to set yourself up. So it's a lot different where at that point we were talking no free guard zone. So, you know, it's a draw and a hit, and a draw and a hit, and a draw and a hit. So it was a little bit less precision required, but I did feel bad for him that he never got any TV airtime.
I'm the Labatt guy.
Yeah, switch and go. Switch, go. Good spot. That one died way harder. 19-5.
I like it too on that long guard.
Would have liked that to be a little bit more in front of that blue. You're essentially trying to create yourself a double guard situation. You're just using one of Team Cooey's rocks to do it. Because it didn't curl enough, you probably see Kevin make a bit of a play on this. You don't need to necessarily peel it, but you could split it in just a sort of basically a tick, like a backline weight, split the two of them off, roll them both into the house. And then that long guard becomes too long to be useful to Team Harty, but they have a decision to make. They either throw a tight one to make it useful and leave 2 blue rocks in play, or they bail and hit a blue rock. But at this point in the game, do you have to take that chance?
Yeah. We just won't leave a double with these. Back 12, Koo?
Yep.
Yeah.
Quarter stone with
Beach.
back ring.
Beach, go here. No. I think you can get it. Yeah.
Quarter stone.
Okay, John, just heavy draw.
So quarter stone, going to try and tick that one that is not in the rings
Weight's
in
good.
and roll over behind.
Weight's really good.
Maybe not behind that corner guard, but over into the rings.
Perfect. Weight's good. Back 12.
Never stop. Hard.
Shooter, Beach.
Didn't need much of it, and that's what he got, so great shot there.
Yeah, the only negative thing to me there is I actually think they would have liked to have hit a little bit more of that top one or thrown it a little bit harder, because now it is a double guard. They've moved it in behind. I talked about it being out in the open, but now Team Cooey's essentially created the double guard that we said Team Harty might have to decide if they want to throw or not. So they're still leaving 2 blue rocks in the house. There is still some risk here, but being down 2 without the hammer, I think you have to throw this shot, and now you have actually a really good guard setup. So sink this one in there. It doesn't even have to be top tee line. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just bury it and be shot.
Line's great. Put it to the tee, guys.
Careful. Lots of room.
Whoa, switch.
We should see this spot walk over. We saw that in the semifinal game.
Hard, you got to go over the line. Keep going. Keep moving. Keep it moving.
Great throw right there.
That went from touching this outside line, which is in the middle of the 8-foot, to fully buried on the edge of the button on the other side in about 10 feet. That's how much late finish we have here on this ice. It's very much like arena ice, and granted that's the swingier side of the two, but still that's an incredible amount of curl in a curling club.
Well, speaking of that, 3 ice makers have been here over the week. Brian Armstrong, our head ice maker, Jim Olver, and Marty Villemer, the assistants who've been helping out all along. But of course, we have to say thanks to Hines and Darren Moulding. They've been here for the TSN Skins game, the Qualico mixed doubles, and through all of that opportunity, they've certainly Brian and the crew have had a chance to learn from them. I know Brian still uses scrape patterns, and he's been able to learn how to properly paper the rocks, and certainly that's made it, made the ability here for us to produce this type of ice that we're seeing here.
I do think that's a big thing that maybe doesn't get enough credit or focus is the participation of these high-end ice makers. So, for example, when a Grand Slam comes to a city and they move around to different cities for all 6, then they need an ice crew. So they get some local guys to come out and help them make the ice. Well, a lot of these guys are head ice makers at curling clubs. So now they learn what makes slam ice as good as it is. They learn what the scrape pattern should look like. They learn how to properly paper the rocks, and then they take that back to their own club. So it's another way, and the Grand Slams do a great job of it, but it's just one more way that they can give back to the community by providing some essentially free lessons while also getting the help they need to run the event. Unfortunate miss there from Kyler. Definitely needed that in play. You want it. The tricky part is you want it as long as you can, as long as it's over the hog line. So those are really tough to throw, especially like your lead's throwing them fairly regularly. But when it comes, I know even for me, I always get in the hack and go, geez, like how am I ever going to do this? Because everything I throw is to the tee line for the most part, like maybe top 8.
Come
so
on,
now
you
all of a
throw it
sudden,
halfway and the sweeper sweep it in, right?
well, no. Well, if you give me these sweepers, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it's a good example of how you had to be that precise. You had to try and throw it
Well,
high.
because it's no better for Team Harty if it's frozen to this blue. So that's the thing, that it looks like it's a huge miss because it's not in play. But if they bring that right down and freeze it to it, it doesn't serve that much more of a purpose because Cooey's ripping them both, and they're in the same position anyways. So that's the part that is tough with those. It's the same as when you see somebody flash a hit where they're trying to hit an 1/8 of a rock and they flash it. Well, that's closer than hitting half of it. So it looks like a bad miss because they don't touch anything or because it gets taken out of play. But sometimes that's better than it doesn't look as bad if you hit too much of it. But a 0 is a 0. It goes on. There's no pictures on the scoreboard. It doesn't matter how close you are to making it if you don't make it.
It's going to be easy.
Beachy just getting that a bit outside and didn't come back, and he did, of course, pick the one off the top. It's going to give Harty a chance to get out of this end, and if he does get a miss, maybe steal one. So he'll hit this and try and roll to a new position and then try to avoid the double.
You want to roll here? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you could also throw a guard on this. This is the more defensive of the two calls.
Well, then it's just a half rock double on it. Yeah.
He's probably seeing that he has not a lot out front to hide behind, and probably not much of a likelihood of making the steal, so he feels more comfortable making sure he gets out of the end, and then he'll have the 5-rock rule to maybe set it up better next end.
Yep, this isn't the wrong call. It's just the more defensive of the two. The challenge is that the guy watching you throw this, who's about to get in the hack, is one of the best double makers in the world. So you better be pretty precise with this roll to not leave Kevin Cooey a double.
Clean it.
Yep. Whoa.
Yep. Yep.
Whoa.
Yep. Yes. Whoa. Yep. 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 Really hard.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
your point?
yeah, that won't do the job.
Thin third.
You know, it's like you said, I was talking to a really good club curler who took a year and they tried to play a little more advanced spieling. And they said that, when you play in club play or in their normal Bondsfield circuit, you have a few misses a game and you can still come out. But at this level, it's the half shot is a bad miss. So it's not like they fully missed. They just roll a little too far, roll a little too under. And it is a different game that way.
Yeah, and you find that when teams come from juniors into men's or women's, it's the same thing where the level of precision is just that much higher. So when you're watching junior curling, there will be more misses. So you also see the strategy going towards playing for misses a little bit more. Where when you get to this level, you can't afford to do that. They might get caught on the straight side here, though.
Wow, that's where BJ just is hung out.
Yeah, that side of the sheet is significantly straighter than the other side. We saw it in the semifinal as well. And it looks like it might even be getting straighter and straighter here, too. So definitely keep an eye on that. The curl is a little bit more towards the right-hand side of the sheet from where we're sitting back here.
I guess you want a decent steal. I don't mind it.
Yeah, I think
So if we look at the camera there, that's a true angle.
Yeah, and it's very consistent, and that's the thing is we talk about ice conditions and about maybe a run or a slant, which is what this is a little bit of, but as long as it's doing it every time, it's okay. You just need to figure it out, and it actually adds some interest to the game in a way because there's an art involved in ice reading, a skill involved there. So. Not necessarily a bad thing, but definitely something that the teams need to be aware of and be trying to pick up on. And unfortunately for Team Cooey there, just got caught a little bit with that running a bit straighter than they expected.
I mean, those are the two things, right? You want consistency so you know what to expect, and you want it to hold up. You don't want it to get to like the 6th, 7th end, and you got too cute early, maybe too deep a nip, and now you've lost everything. And the converse is, being too conservative and leaving too much there, and it just stays slow.
Yeah.
So it's a really fine art, and I know we talked about it in one of the earlier broadcasts that the whole ice making thing it's gotten really scientific. It isn't someone taking a bucket of water and flipping it up on the ice and going out and sweeping it up and saying, have at it.
One, the thing we talk about arena ice and how good it is versus curling club ice, the thing that curling club ice has an advantage in is that it's colder in there and the temperature stays more consistent because you don't have crowds, you don't have fans that are out on the ice with you. So what it usually does is hold up better throughout a game, speed-wise, than arena ice tends to, the middle part especially, where you have the most traffic, kind of from the middle of the 8 foot through, but certainly 4 foot lines in, will get flat. So it'll start really quick, plus you have 2 teams practicing and you've got everybody sweeping, then it'll slow down because it'll get flat towards the end of the game, and that, because of the heat, that lends itself to it, that middle part breaking down quicker. Where in a curling club, what you'll often see is it being a little bit faster towards the home end, because that's where the warmth is, where the people, us sitting in here, and most of the time way more people than this pre-COVID, that extra warmth will often make it run a little bit faster this way, but it'll stay the same. It's my sources tell me that it's about around a half-second faster coming this way than it is going away, which was the same the last time I played here and has been consistent most of the time and typically will stay that way. But again, it's okay that it's different as long as it stays the same throughout the game.
And I thought it was just downhill.
Well, and that could be the case as well.
This may not make it over enough.
I think he's okay.
Of course.
Really close.
Harty can't sweep it.
Oh, a little too far. I think it's only a steal of 1. Yeah, if he could have swept that, that's probably a steal of 2 again.
Well, I don't know. It's a skip, eh? That's not.
Well, he wouldn't have swept it. Kyler probably would have.
Yeah, sorry, Chelsea. You're a skip there, and I'm saying this to you.
Hey, no, I would say it myself. Don't you worry about it.
Well, you know what? 2 uncharacteristic misses there from Kevin Cooey, and BJ ahead of that little opening there and let Harty get back in this with a steal of 1. So we're halfway through this game, and we're 4-3. But of course, Kevin Cooey will retain the hammer going into the second half of this, but showing a little bit of vulnerability there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's just they hadn't played much on that side. Kind of this whole game's been over on the other side of the sheet. So surprised them a little bit. I do think it's definitely a straighter spot, but when Kevin let his first one go, John right away said, whoa, 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 whoa. So maybe also a little set or a little full on that one. And the fact that he missed the second one high as well would indicate that they didn't take as much less ice as they would have if they thought the whole reason for that first miss was the ice. And so just getting a little bit fooled there. But the good news for Team Cooey is that where you have to check this, and this is a veteran team, they're certainly not going to have any issue doing this. But if you're coaching a young team or talking to a young team where this is the case, where you were up and you had the whole end under control and all of a sudden you're only 1 point up, if somebody would have told you going into the game that halfway through after the 4th end break you'd be 1 up with the hammer, you'd take it and run every day of the week and twice on Sunday. So you have to take yourself out of how you got there and just focus on the fact that you're still in control of this game. For Team Harty, you have to feel like that was a bit of a momentum swing, so now let's capitalize on it. Let's jump all over them this end and put some rocks in some good spots and put some pressure on Kevin Cooey because he just missed 2 shots in a row. And you can't say that very often, so you better take advantage when you get it.
For the first time here in Banff. Just another first. That's why we're calling this the ATB Banff Slam now. Well, as you said, a bit of momentum change, and that's what happened in their match earlier in this event, where Cooey got out to an early lead, but Harty did claw his way back, and so this might put some thoughts into the memories of both teams.
Well, now for Team Harty, your strategy can change a little bit too. You still want to throw everything you have at them, but now a force plays a lot better than it did in the last end. Because now you force them, you're only 2 down, you get 2, you tie it up. You know, that's a big difference versus being 2 down. Then a force doesn't really help you, you're 3 down, and now you have to get a 3. So definitely a little bit of a different a different game plan for them here. Not for the first couple rocks, but later in the end. They'll bail a little bit earlier, you know, be happy to hit the open rock and split the house, where the last end I think they had to be playing all out for a steal.
Perfect weight.
Okay, line's good.
Yep.
Guys.
Yep.
I think we just go.
Just a 3.
Yeah. Be nice, don't be half buried. You got it.
For those who might have missed the games earlier in the day, finishing in 3rd and 4th were Team Botcher and Team Sturmey. They lost in the semifinals this morning.
Good 3.
Some good games. Team Harty seemed to have the better of that game all throughout. Team Botcher, that was quite the seesaw battle, and you'd expect that from the number 4 and number 6 team in Canada and top ranked in the world.
Switch and go. Switch. Hard. Hard, Josh. Got him. Hard. Line it up. Hard. Keep going. Hard. Hard. Good seat. Nice. Good shot. 16.
Well, 2 great guards there by
I can
Mr.
throw the
Goller.
over for sure again.
Not only is he a sweeping machine, but he's a guard machine.
Is that the same ice I had on the last time here?
2 really good qualities to have in a lead.
You need edge, Penny. Probably need edge 80.
When I cross center just a little bit.
Because if anything, you can say high on hers
Yeah.
a bit, right? Yeah, I think you want.
Okay. That's what I was wondering. Okay. Okay, boys, stop baiting. Speed's good here.
Hair early, bit early. Yeah, gotta go for weight.
Go then. Mine's perfect.
Never
Go,
stop.
go.
I got you. Never stop.
Come on,
Weight's
Beach.
good. Weight's good.
Stay with it. Hard. Hard for line, Beach. Head down. Come on, Beach. Come on, Beach. Right in there. Keep going. Head down. Go, go, go.
Gotta get
Go,
this
go,
by
go.
if they can.
Keep going.
Oh.
Get it in.
Just a feather rub there, but again
Make
opens
sure
the
they
door a
both
little
go.
bit for
Right?
Team Harty to set themselves up for a steal or a force here.
Then they double peel. Yeah. Hit and roll under
It's
the
a millimeter
guards.
from being perfect. If that gets by, it's
never
fully
getting
buried.
rid of
It's
it.
almost frozen. You couldn't walk it down there any better, but with that little rub, changes everything.
They have the full
There's
8
a
foot,
ton
right?
of rocks left, Jer.
Okay.
I always say a good massage does change everything, so you're right, just that little rub.
Well, we gotta commit. What do we? You want it
If you
here,
really
right?
want to commit, we top it back 8 feet.
Okay.
If
Of course,
you
we're
don't
used to
wanna go
having
for it, then
4
be 4
games
feet.
going out there, lots
we're
of
only got one,
ambient
right?
noise and that, but right now it's just the 8 of them, and it's their whole space stone.
Yeah, we were joking about it before the game. I was saying that's my favorite thing about a final because these conversations that we're hearing them have are hard to have when there's 3 other
Board
games
down.
going on out there. So the person in the hack is yelling stuff down at the skip and you can't hear each other and you don't know what they're trying to say. And when you're out there for a final, it's awesome because you can just talk in a normal level voice and they can hear you. It's you get spoiled on that pretty quick.
Yeah, we're cranking the gain up here because usually during the course of the event you've got to pull that down because it goes from a very soft whisper to a screaming go, and you don't need that right now. They can be normal, talk normal.
Does also prove the fact that part of the reason we yell is
Well,
it's
what I
not
would love to do
entirely because we want the sweepers to hear us. Because they can hear you here, and yet you're still hearing people go full bore because as the person holding the broom, you just feel so helpless that it's the only thing you have in your control to do, so it's hard not to do it. But there's certainly no other point to it when there's nobody else out there playing.
You can't use hand signals because the heads are down of those sweepers. They just get used to hearing your voice, I guess.
They need to be able to use hand signals now, especially with COVID. In Ontario, they're wearing masks the whole game, so it makes the communication a lot tougher. And in a loud arena, even if it's the only game, so you're playing in a final in an arena, it's still not quiet because the crowd's involved. So
Yeah.
they're yelling and screaming and cheering and all that stuff. So you have to be able to use hand signals, but in these situations, in a final in
Same
a curling
everything,
club,
eh?
you don't need to rely on them quite so heavily.
Well, they like to
still get
roll
the
a
nose.
little bit more than that, certainly tucked under, but he can get to it, Jeremy, but
I
not
think
sure he can
so.
get
Just
rid of both
make
of them.
A little higher.
Definitely can't get rid of both of them.
Just hack.
I think the biggest thing is leaving
Or-
your
no,
shooter,
same weight, same
trying to
weight,
get to
just
close to the nose of this. Don't want to roll off too much and let Kevin Cooey's team play that hit and roll again and then get both of them fully buried and then you're chasing.
Yep.
Same way.
Hard.
Same way.
Hard. Hard. Gotta go. Hard. Hard.
Carla Kleibrink this
Hard.
time
Gotta
going
stay on it.
hard,
Hard. Hard.
trying to get it by.
Hard. Keep going. Hard. Hard.
Trying to get it by. Oh, just did open it up though.
Yeah, unfortunately, he opened it up, which is good in the sense that you can chase those
Pretty
blues,
nice
but
how
you
it
don't
is
want
for
to
us,
kill
like
your
it's
own
not a real
center
natural
guards
double
either
kill.
Team Harty, so definitely
just
not what they were
edge on
looking
edge,
for here.
right?
But
Little
again,
wide out turn,
you had to
guys,
play
if
it
you
tight.
want.
You had to try to get to the nose, so it's not as far off of being made as it looks like it is, just because they had the tick on the guard. If they missed that on the high side,
What
it's
about the
just as
inside?
bad.
Doesn't he just throw the yellow into it with? He just makes it like 3 feet of run back, right? I don't hate that either, Kev. My gut was saying, my instinct saying the out turn draw or the in turn draw to that side.
Isn't that the only two
Yeah.
draws you got?
Yeah, because if I throw the in turn draw and I'm heavy.
Is that kind of like when you say, I'd say either heads or tails?
Okay, so
But when he says it, it sounds a lot more.
Well, we know John wants to throw a draw. That much we're clear on.
Sure. Let's do this. Yeah.
okay, we just got
Looks like this might just be the draw to the open side here.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be real nice speed because it's got to be the way it holds here. So. Easy. Easy. Line's good. Easy. Back 8.
Okay, well, it's got to stop for there.
No roll, no roll, no roll. Yep, yep, yep. That's good. It's good.
Nice one, Johnny. Sure, buddy.
All right, right where you
I see
wanted it,
two
right in the
things. We
back.
nose this with hack, or
So it avoids the potential triple.
Oh,
What kind of weight you thinking?
Yeah. Can't sweep that blue out is the worst. So maybe
Big board?
Yeah.
Board?
Well, room close. Well, room. Kurt. Kurt.
Kurt, yep. Hard. Hard, Kurt.
Gotta go,
Hard,
Kurt.
Kurt.
Keep
Hard,
going.
keep going. Hard.
Keep going.
Hard. Hard.
Keep going.
Whoa.
Jesus,
It's okay.
that worked out.
Okay, then we hit the light 3 here.
It worked out as good as it could have given what they were dealing with. That's a really good line call there by Jeremy Harty to make sure they didn't. If that curls a little bit more and they don't hit the side one, it's even worse. The bad news is that both of those blue rocks are now pretty buried, and this is a wide open hit for Team Cooey to sit 3 pretty spread out.
Easy board.
Board.
Easy board.
Board.
Clean it, John. Easy. Just clean. Me.
Hey,
Roll it, Annie.
Shot.
Good.
So what do you want me to do? Like with the throw? Same throw? Okay, normal? Or control? Just control. Probably control
try
is
to
more.
get that hit and long roll. I guess it could roll pretty far over too because it's all covered on that side.
As long as you're shot, try to get shot and buried would be a huge win here for Kyler. That is, it sounds like a funny thing to say, but it is an important question to ask because if you both
Whoa,
correct
man.
something, the thrower and the
Whoa,
person in the house,
Kurt.
then you're going to end up missing the shot again. So it's important to say, you know, throw it the same, or I liked that throw, I'll give you more ice or less ice. But if you both don't say anything and then you both make a correction is when it tends to come back to bite you. So really, as silly as it sounds to say, what do you want me to do? That's a very smart question for him to ask. Was that throw okay? Was it me? Are you going to ice me for that same throw? Or do you want me to be a little more positive or whatever, or a little less positive or whatever the situation may be?
Very good point. Communication
Where
is
do you wanna be,
always
Kev?
paramount. So they don't really have to play that one out there now. It's out
Oh,
in
yeah.
the wings a
Yeah,
bit,
we
but
gotta take it
also
away
it's
from
not first, second. It's only third shot, so a chance to use the draw to really put it in the right spot.
Yeah, I think if you knew that Team Harty was going to chase you to the wing, you would probably throw it back there again, but they likely won't. They thinking here for Kevin Cooey is that if he doesn't play this draw, that Jeremy Harty will. So get in there first, because one good draw from Jeremy Harty around this mess of guards and frozen rocks could mean the end of this multiple point end. So More aggressive call, but the right call here, I think, for Kevin. Just try to beat him in. You don't need to be perfect.
Oh,
Keep
yeah,
this
it
on the
wasn't
high
hard,
side.
though.
Definitely don't want to be deep, but I think they're thinking this is light.
Well, they're out on a new path here, so certainly haven't seen
Wade's
much.
not good.
Well, that's pretty clear.
It'll be one more guard up there. Do you think Jeremy will use that information and try and follow that down? Will he do the short run, or?
I think you follow it down. If you've got a wall there to get around, if you could ever get buried, I think you can play either turn you want. If you don't want to go out really wide, you could play it with the intern. There's a little bit less room to get covered there, but it looks like that's what they're looking at. We'll let them talk here.
It looks like a 2. I guess we know that spot. Yeah. It's a force. Right?
Really good stagger and curl here, though.
Yeah. Yeah, if we only catch 1, though, it's 2. And we're down 3 again, but.
Or catch 9, it's 3.
Oh, that's an easy double.
Sure.
I guess I could jam there and block the double. No, I can't even. Should we just nut it back then? Let's get the force. So this is pretty precise. Yeah, that's
The nuts
precise too.
This has 6 feet of room. You could even go there and outcount the 2. Actually, both of them.
Yeah, but yeah.
But we're
Yeah, and then we freeze.
I don't mind the run back. Some of the
Yeah.
time it goes here and just straight jams and they can still get 2.
Well, let me just come around it all again on my next.
Whatever you're seeing, Jer. Whatever you want to throw.
Oh, what's the better scenario? Force or?
I just think
Steal.
this sinks, but run back's definitely there.
It's a
Really pivotal
force and
shot,
steal
really.
probably similar.
Steal's probably higher chance.
Okay. You just gotta get by the 7.
Yeah. Anywhere.
8 foot. Just bite 4 is good. Okay. What do you think?
Nope. I like it.
'Kay.
I was just looking at the spots.
So they decided to go the draw and to go this
Just back
side.
4.
And really, if this is made, Cooey's only option, I think, is to draw around to it, unless he feels there's a long double across and it's worth taking on.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is a really tough shot, but it is a chance to steal if it's made because, you know, if you can put this right kind of on the back of the button and get it as buried as you can, then you're hoping for a little bit of a miscue from Kevin, but you're forcing him into a really hard shot. It is a little bit more all or nothing because if you leave him a chase, it's a 3, which is probably not quite the game, but close to the game.
Close.
But it doesn't matter how much you lose by, and I think that's the thing that we sometimes miss too. You want to keep the game close, and that's absolutely a good strategy in general. But if you throw the run back and you only get 1 of the 2 of them, it's not that much better, really, to give them 2 versus 3 at this point. So decided on this draw. They played it a bunch and know the path. Pretty close to perfect, a little deeper than they would have liked, but needed to get it that deep to get it buried because it wasn't going to curl enough if it stopped any higher. So Kevin could take his 1 here. He might be able to move that back, but I think for Kevin Cooey, you're not going to take a big risk. Scoring 1 is important. Giving up another steal here would be worse than just taking your 1.
Yep, you betcha.
And you said it, this is a straighter
Yes,
side,
that's
so
good,
that
yeah.
one not quite overbearing as we've seen coming the other way. So you have to be a bit careful that, you know, when you get that weight up, it seems to just hang out there.
It's definitely that way coming home. I have heard Team Harty refer to it a few times as a spot that curls going this way. So it might not be quite as bad going away as it is coming home as far as the straightness goes.
Wait on, Lee.
But
We gotta go early. Wait's okay.
it's not worth a risk to play a tap when it's fully buried, I don't think. If they have the line,
We're there. We're there.
then they can sweep this to try to. They only have to move it probably an inch or 2 to get their deuce.
We're heavy, John.
Yep,
Heavy, John.
ready, yes, trust me. Hard, 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 hard. Tap it here. Yeah, so he can't freeze. Yes.
Good.
Pretty good shot. Would have liked that to curl a little bit more, but I don't think they quite moved it far enough to be sitting too, but it is close.
Where do we go furthest? Just looking at angles. I don't know if we could.
And they did bring it deep enough that even if Harty stacks it on top, there's lots of room to score. And having just thrown that draw, they'll certainly have a lot of knowledge to
Doubles always for
repeat
three
it.
if we are high, right? It's for three. Right, if we're low, he's gonna come off that.
Because if you're Hardy, you don't really want to freeze down to that. You've really got to try to bury it closer to the button, don't you, to try and force that steal?
That's for that
Yeah, if you think you can get buried, you know, that's the challenge. Is if you go higher, will it get buried? If you show, even if you only show Kevin about a quarter rock here, it's basically the exact same shot he just threw, same weight. Come down there and just chip it out of there and get your at least your two. So I think if it were me, I'd be trying to put this within about a foot of that blue rock, like maybe not necessarily dead frozen, but further back versus top button, and just try to line up an angle where it makes Kevin's shot a little tougher and maybe makes him look at taking one instead of trying some kind of big weight shot for multiples here.
And you said it earlier, force him to one, score your two. It's a tie game, two-end game. So,
yeah,
you know,
the force plays really well here, so that's important to note in where you place this rock. If you leave it a little bit too high, you leave Kevin Cooey a slash double for maybe three, depending on if he can stick the shooter. But regardless, I don't think you want to take that chance.
Clean it, Josh.
Whoa,
Clean it, Josh.
More wide. Whoa.
Oh, we're heavy?
Wider.
Okay.
Close.
Whoa, how heavy? Josh.
They
Whoa.
haven't laid a broom to it.
Whoa. Well then. Kurt.
Hard.
No, we want to stay on nose, right? Josh. Oh.
Well, a lot of worry all the way down, but a pretty good shot.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good. They were talking about the angle that they wanted to
I'm just
keep
wondering if
there.
it gets the
So
blue,
again,
do
that's
you
the
get
communication. So in order for Kyler to make a proper line call there, he needs to know how much weight that has. Because if that's a foot lighter, then they needed to sweep it for line because it was going to over curl if they didn't. But because it was heavy, they were able to stay off it and just kind of dust it into the nose.
Is there a way to pick that over and catch that yellow and maybe bring a three into play?
I do think it's maybe there. It's
two.
really thin, but it might be there.
Well, if you skin this, I think you're still touching this.
Oh, you think tick tick?
It's hard to miss. Yeah. Well, half a rock's hitting this.
Half a
You're
rock's hitting a
talking
lot of
off
the blue.
this, right?
But if it hits a lot of the blue, then it's for sure the back one's moving.
Yeah, so which one are we playing in?
Okay.
That way, Kev, half stone?
So the hope
Hey,
is
cool.
to get rid of the
Yeah, half
back
stone.
blue and yellow, and by end result would be two blue, counting the top one.
Yeah, I think that.
If you want to hit this thick, then it's a thick half. Right, thick half. This is flying, and that So.
Okay.
There's multiple ways to make this shot. You could hit it thin and try to just touch both of those back two, or if you hit this thick, then the back two hit each other and go out, and the run rock will go out as well. So it seems like they decided to hit it on the thicker side.
Whoa. Yep.
Hard.
Whoa. 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 It's pretty thin.
What is it? It touched it for sure.
It's like a steal of one.
Oh, have a
It's
look.
really
It's
close.
closer than you think it touched it.
I was pretty sure it was yellow before. I do think it nudged that yellow just a hair, but it does still look like yellow to me. But worth a measure. Our overhead camera, I think, is pretty good here. But if it's not absolutely dead center, they did kick it.
Well, by kicking it, that means it must be yellow. So 2 steals. This is what we saw in the round robin, or I guess the event A game, a big lead that was evaporated by Harty later on, and that's what we've seen here now. We're back to a tie game after 5 ends. Good news for Cooey, of course. He's got 2 scores to 1 if things play out the way they would, so he still retains that advantage, but it's a 5-rock rule, and Harty's got momentum, so we'll have to stay tuned and see what happens.
Yeah, that is one of those ones. And you heard Ben say, okay, well, which one are we playing here, Kev? Because you need to pick one of the two, because they were just that different, where he just got caught right in between the two of them. He could have got to if he hit that a little thinner. He could have got to if he hit a little thicker. And that's why it's important to decide on one. And I think they had. I think they just got caught in between on the sweeping. But again, a lesson for younger players. If the difference is an inch or two in where you need to hit it, you can't be saying, well, we could do this or we could do this, because those are two completely different shots. And if you get caught in the middle, you're not making either one of them. So pick one and commit to it and go with it. And I do think that they did that there. It was just a matter of the execution with the sweeping call.
Yeah, fastest spot, I think. Just give us a 1-2.
Well, 5 ends in this 8-end final, unless, of course, we need an extra end. We've got Team Cooey and Team Harty. The A and B event qualifiers, the two top teams throughout this event, certainly in their playmaking and also where they ended up here, and they're all tied up with 3 ends to go. A different path we got here. Cooey taking 2 in the first, stealing 2. Harty getting 2 back in third and being able to steal in 4 and 5. Looking forward to a great finish to this game.
17. Yeah, Josh, go. Hard. Nice spot.
Play to score a point.
Good throw.
That's what I like to play for.
Touching the center line. And future rules, maybe you couldn't tick it.
Maybe.
But right now you can.
Doesn't look like he's going to with this ice, though. I think that's the come around.
It's all there. It's all there. It's all there. It's
Well,
all
I
there.
played a few ends of defense, hasn't really worked
I don't
out.
want to
Maybe
touch
we'll
it
see
now.
them start to go back on the offense, which is what got them that 4-point lead in the first place.
I do think that's exactly what you're seeing happen after a couple of ends where, and they had chances in both those ends to score, obviously, but after a couple ends of the defense not working for you, why not switch gears? What do you have to lose at this point? You're still in a good position, tied with. Put a little pressure on and hope you get some misses out of Team Harty.
You're pretty close with that. Just 2 feet. You got it.
We've got it's interesting, a little delay between what feed comes through to the live stream, and we often find the players after the shot.
It's real
will take a
nice.
peek into the lounge, because we are playing in the back of the lounge the live stream, and they can see what happened. We've also had front ends when the play's going the other way, sitting here trying to look at the house, because our camera people have been giving great shots, and so it's kind of neat how they use that lounge TV to help them out.
It really makes a big difference. I know when we're playing in an arena with a jumbotron, you catch yourself looking up at it all the time. I'll throw a shot around a bunch of guards, and it'll be, the sweepers are in there and the rocks are all in the way, and I'm at the far end, so I look up at the jumbotron to see if I got by or not. Because I have a better chance of seeing it on there than I do if I'm actually watching it live. So it's definitely adds a different element. It is a distraction, though. You have to learn to manage it, because you can see yourself throwing. So when you're throwing and you're dialed in, and then you see this movement, it can kind of pull your attention away. So definitely something to be managed, but also potential advantage, and certainly for front-end players versus having to be like, whose shot? Is this frozen? How much separation is there? You can just look up at the jumbotron and see exactly what the situation is.
And a lot of curling rinks, you often see the front ends running into the lounge to check the overhead cameras. And
yeah, in Ontario, they do a smart thing, I think, that with the mirrors that they have on the back. So when you're standing at this end, they've got a mirror angled so that you can see the house. Now, your teammates could still be in the way if they're standing in front of the mirror, but I think it's a really smart idea that has some leverage and is probably cheaper to do than all the TVs with the away end cameras. But as long as you have some sort of way for the fans and the team as well to see what's going on down there and who's shot and what the angle looks like and everything else, makes the game go a little faster too, which is to everyone's benefit as well, versus people having to go up and down the ice to check what the situation is and understand where they need to hit the rock or what's the pro side miss or all those kinds of factors.
And the interesting thing about a mirror, I've never seen a mirror glitch. Never seen a mirror lose
That's
power.
true, yeah. It does take that element out of it. I suppose you could break one, which would be pretty bad, but other than that.
But the rocks don't bounce that high anymore.
No, well, as long as no one throws a broom, but, that's curling. It happens.
Right, on second rocks now in the 6th end. John Moore's throwing, trying to draw around again and continue the stack, trying to build the right angles, knowing that at some point something up front's going to come firing back in. Of course, for Harty, it's good he owns those 2 rocks, so regardless of what comes in the house, it'll be a yellow one. But right now they're just trying to get this around that top yellow and weld it on and get a really good angle.
Yeah, the challenge for Team Harty is it's their rocks they're running back, but it also there's a yellow rock missing from this stack that they would have liked to have right where John's shooter is right now. So those two blues frozen on top of the yellow,
I think you have to sink
basically
in.
the yellow and this back blue
Sink where?
are not going to
The
end up in the
intern?
house.
Where to?
They're
Top
going to
eight?
be eliminated at some point,
They just run it
and
still.
the angles look
That's fine.
far better for Team Cooey right now than they
They're
do
black.
for Team
We just
Harty.
need that
So
yellow there when they blow everything
Yeah,
up.
anything that touches that blue, top blue, is the yellow squirts pretty easily.
yeah, the yellow flies.
Yeah.
And even though Cooey can't sweep it out that 3 feet, I do think with any sort of weight it's going to bounce
Well,
out.
Yeah,
Kevin's
two
a
to
skip
go.
too, so let's not give him too much credit on the sweeping.
Yeah.
There's that great picture
That's
in
only one we
picture
can
angle.
run.
Get
We
a
can't run
chance
this one.
to
But then
listen
their
into what they're doing.
Their blue's still buried, and they just sink another. It's top 8, free, around. It's either there or not it. That one just did, eh? Yeah, this is there. Oh yeah, it's just a come around. That way if they run, that catches our yellow that they run. And it's
Okay.
always above them.
Yeah.
Assume same speed, we'll sweep it. You got it. I'd love to give you just a foot more. That was, I thought that was a good weight until it did whatever it did. The exact same thing in that spot though. We're wider. Should be nice. You got it. Okay, I'll give you the same weight. Yeah. Yep, I like that weight.
It's a really good conversation there because you need to be on the same page, the thrower and the sweepers, about what the speed is going to be in
Really
this spot.
nice.
So a little bit of
Okay.
discussion because his
Line's
last
good.
one did come up short, but Kyler's saying they're going a little wider and they might not hit the same. He thinks it might have hit something weird or done something weird. So communicating that, no, give us the same weight, we'll sweep it, this will run better, we're in a better spot here. And then as a thrower, you have to buy into that and everybody commits to it. And whether it's right or wrong, it's more important to be on the same page so that you can learn from it and make the next one after this, even if this one was missed, but it's made absolutely perfect.
15-1.
Perfect. And you said it earlier, and I think it goes the same thing we heard there is everyone needs to be on the same page, and you don't want to overcorrect and have someone else overcorrect for you. And oftentimes when a shot's missed, you've thrown it, and you don't know what's happened all the way down. And a lot of times I've seen the player will come down and the skip, and they'll just have a conversation to make sure, hey, I over-iced you. Hey, you know what, you hit the broom. Hey, your release was good. Because in your mind, you're thinking, maybe I got that out. Maybe I dumped it. You know, was the ice right? So it's good to understand when a shot's missed, what was the cause of it.
Well, and it's just a sharing of information too. So, you know, in this case, the person in the hack's thinking, I got to throw you several feet more weight. And the sweepers are thinking, no, you don't. And if no one says anything, then guess what happens? The sweepers know he doesn't need to throw more weight, but he thinks he does. So he throws a few feet more weight out of his hand. He goes, I like it. It's close. And they go, all there, heavy back 8. And it's just because they didn't talk about it. And it doesn't mean that everybody's going to agree, but somebody has to acquiesce and buy in. Whether it's the sweepers or the thrower or whoever, you have to get to a common ground, whatever that is, and then go from there. And, you know, sometimes with ice conditions or with new spots, it's going to be a guess. So talking about it more isn't going to make you any more accurate about it. And we used to talk about that with my other teams. Like, if we're going to have to guess, let's guess faster and have less doubt in our heads and just all commit to whatever the guess is. And if we're wrong, we're wrong. We do something different next time. But, you know, more discussion doesn't make you any more certain if it's a brand new spot. It's only going to make everybody doubt everything a little bit more. So sometimes better to just say, okay, well, what's our best guess here? 3 feet heavy? Yep. Okay, let's go with it. And then, you know, the person lets it go, and the sweepers are like, weight's good, and then it ends up either heavy or light or whatever. And the thrower says, I liked that, and the sweepers say, so did I. We were just wrong. Fine. Move forward and learn from that.
Okay, bite 8 foot. Josh a bit. It's curling a
So
lot.
John making a really
Line's
good
good. Line's good.
double peel of those
Line's good.
front center line guards. Now there's a Cooey rock, blue rock
Line's
to
good.
bring
No
in,
bounce.
and Hardy's going to
Bite
try and
eight,
weld
guys,
another
right,
one
right,
down, edging on that top blue one to give them the better angles from both sides. Looks like he's got a great shot coming in here. Want to get it right up and just welded.
Thanks.
Well, I'd have to say now that yellow probably
Try and
has the
plant
better
that.
angles.
Yeah, I think it's hard to make any kind of a hit play here where you don't kill at least one blue, probably 2. So with one really good, that first freeze that they made, that corner freeze, they made it look easy, but it's really hard. That was a very small piece of real estate for them to get to for that to be good, and it was perfect. And so then John made a pretty good shot, but he did leave at the shooter there and give some coverage for Team Harty and another perfect freeze. And that's the thing about the stack is one little miss will kill you, or a couple really good makes of those really precise freezes can also turn the whole thing around in a hurry.
Really good.
Shot beach.
Oh yeah, it did get rid of the,
That might have really
I
killed
guess
us.
the key yellow rock that was at top. They did lose the blue, but
Just whiskered it, hey?
I think that certainly changed the angles to where that favors now Cooey.
We're shot now.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think
Yeah.
it wasn't exactly
Well,
what
they
how
yellow
they
hit
had drawn it
down,
up,
they both
but
spin.
it worked out really well because again now the angles have
If they
switched
hit this
again.
side,
And
do both
I
yellows
would
go?
suggest it's advantage Cooey.
No.
Like really hard?
No, the 8 probably jams right here.
'Kay.
Same spot.
Well,
Do we
it
want to curl a
did
bit less
bump
or
that
more or
blue one
same?
back, so
I
it
think
does,
exact same
according to
spot.
Harty, he's
Okay.
sitting shot, but of course that, that rock is exposed on all sides. Any little touch of any other rock, and it's probably out of the back.
Yeah, I do think it'll hit this back blue, but I'm not sure it'll stay there. It's a little bit hard to tell. I
Okay,
need,
just
need an
bite-
overhead
bite
to
8, guys. It's all you. Line's the
to
same.
be
I
sure
had
of
to
that,
push it,
but
guys. I had to push
I
it.
do think
Careful.
yellow's shot right now. Based on our view
Running
here.
better.
Whoa. Whoa, right off. Whoa. Whoa, still got a curl. Whoa. Okay, Josh, close. Yep. Yep. Oh.
Well, that's where they wanted it. I mean, maybe a little more overlap, but still,
Yep.
it's
Get them all, eh?
you know that he's going to fire a howitzer in the house here, and we're going to see lots of different rocks move.
Throws it onto the blue.
But I do agree, if that yellow comes over top of
I
the
think it killed both
second
those
yellow,
yellows,
I
doesn't
think
it?
you
Chisel
will
the first-
lose all
first
the
one out,
yellows,
both
and
those, right?
probably at least 2 blues will stay in the house.
Yeah, I
I think
think you
you
can.
wanna-
Well, let's listen to them.
I think you go right here and you go right into this. Then it goes bang bang, gets those 2 yellows.
Okay.
If you touch that
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
I think that's the best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too.
And getting it on the yellow.
Yeah, you're right, Beach. Millimeter high.
I got type, Benny.
So I don't know that they think all 3 yellows
Control,
go,
buddy.
but 2 will for sure, which is really the important part. The ironically enough, the shot rock yellow is the one that's least concerning to you right now if you're Team Cooey. So you want to kill those top 2, and if the back one jams and stuff's in there, that's still okay.
So you're trying to hit the yellow one in the house first, or your own blue one first?
Benny,
The yellow one.
Benny, Benny, Benny,
Okay.
Benny, Benny, Benny.
They like it.
Shot Beach.
Really
Really
good.
Attaboy.
Maybe
Well-
overcurled on them just a fraction, but opens everything up and is it still a pretty good position for Team Cooey, better than it was. Does leave a chance for a freeze here.
Well, if he
For
can
Team
just
Harty?
get 7/8 on the left side of the one on the button, it's pretty well staying there until the end's
Easier to
over.
draw
I mean,
there or
that's
easier to get
not a lot
one
of room to
this
get
way?
out of there.
Yeah, I think even if you're, I think in a perfect world, it's hard to do, but the closer you can get to the nose, the better, because then even if Kevin plays a run, some kind of combo, it won't leave the house. If you're 7/8 high, he can probably get it out of the 4-foot. If you're dead on the nose, I don't think it goes.
How much do you got of this too?
It's a lot like chess, you know, they're
half.
thinking a few moves ahead and they're placing their pieces in.
'Kay.
And
Well, and this is exactly to my point is Kyler asking how much do they have of this higher blue rock that's partially exposed, because that's the one Kevin could run in there. So now if you're frozen on 3/4 and he can run that in there, he can kill those yellows easily, which is why you want to try it. It's just a matter of in a perfect world, how close to the nose are they with this freeze? And I think if it were me, the answer is as close as possible to the nose.
yeah, that top blue rock in the 8 is the danger rock.
Yeah.
Because Harty can't get it out,
Right.
and Cooey's going to use it.
100%.
And with everything yellow being on the left, and the fact that the guard's there, everything's going to be pushing that way. So the Cooey still has a chance to put a big end in. This is a really important shot for Harty to get this as close to the nose as possible and frozen there. So at least you lose one blue rock if you try to run it out.
Close.
Right off.
A little
Whoa, then.
warm, close, right off.
Whoa, then.
Josh always close, Josh. Whoa. No, no, no.
They haven't laid a
Well,
ball.
Line's great.
Still close. Kurt,
Nobody.
Kurt,
Nobody. Nobody.
Kurt.
Nobody.
Kurt.
Nobody. We need to stop. Okay, Jared. That's good.
Line was probably perfect if it had a foot or 2 less weight, so they could have managed it with sweeping, would have curled up a little bit more. Even if it stayed on that exact same angle but was closer to frozen, it would be a little bit better. Unfortunately, moved it a bit. Not an easy shot for Team Cooey here, but they can probably move some yellow granite around and set themselves up for potentially really good
You got a thick half. I think you want to hit like
situation on
you want to hit thick
Kevin's
half
last.
with like with hack weight, like hack. You don't have a ton. Like you don't have a ton of room, right?
Yeah, Johnny, it looks like a control weight shot from here.
Really?
I think so.
Well, because it was control. If you ever go over,
Now this is the same path that both Kevin and BJ got out a little bit, and it sailed wide on. And these elite athletes, I am sure it's not wandering in their mind, but for us, anyways, we know that this is a tricky straight path.
Yeah, and you heard John wanting to throw less weight, probably partially for that reason. He still has those demons in his head watching those two run really straight. So throw it a little quieter, but I think they've decided on more like a control.
okay.
Oh.
He knows he's probably going to jam that yellow that's counting right now in the back one. So
Yeah, he's not trying to make a double here. He's just trying to stuff the most important rock here is where he's hitting this 2, where that 1 stops. You want it to hit this as much on the nose of the first yellow as possible. BJ trying to carve it over here. So
It's
this,
staying
again,
right.
that same straight spot.
that is not shot, but
Yeah.
certainly
One
inches
wiggle
away
is
from it.
just
So
2.
quite the pocket for him back
Put it
there.
there. It's for
Yeah, the challenge is if you
jam,
leave that
right?
blue there, he's just going to smash it in, but it's hard to make a play on it. So it actually didn't work out that bad. Decision time here for Team Harty. Again, you don't mind a force, and I think now is maybe the time to switch gears into that force mode.
I mean,
You don't think so? Never.
again, why
If you-
wouldn't you
this
just
way, yeah,
draw
it
around
spins.
from the
This
right
way,
and
never,
put it right on the
never.
button, frozen to your yellow one?
Because I think if you go in, then you make the little short run for Kevin almost
You
unmissable.
guard.
You give him a bigger target. The more rocks you have in there creating a wall, the easier it is for him to make that and not risk much of a chance of missing it, because you can't miss all those rocks if you put another one in there. So I think it's not necessarily the wrong call, but that's the danger is again, with how good Kevin Cooey is with the up weight. You put it in there in the wrong place, you could leave him a combo for multiple points where you could potentially look at just lobbing another one in there. Like I would leave it a little bit more on the high side, even like sort of freeze in the pocket of those 2 blues. Yeah, somewhere right in there, so that he's going to have a shot for 1 and it's going to be pretty makeable, but it's only going to be for 1. I think that's the key thing here. I don't think you can be thinking steal, because if you do that, you might give up a mittful. Just put this in a place where the little slash that you're almost certain Kevin's going to play isn't available for 2.
So really, this shot is about setting up the 1 for Kevin.
Yeah, I don't think you can take away his shot at 1, and if you try to, if you were to throw a guard or something, you might risk giving up a bundle, and I think that's the key here. You've come back enough that a force plays really well in your favor here. 1 down with playing 7 is a pretty good spot, and so you just make sure you don't give them. We talked about it with Team Cooey, right? How good they are. That getting just that one end on you where they hang a 4 or 5 on the board.
Lots of
I
room
think
on this
this
one.
potentially is that end. So
Actually
just
close,
avoid
Kurt.
that.
Yeah.
Just try to lock in your force here.
Because you know if there's an angle, he's going to see
Right
it.
on the
100%, and likely make it.
Gotta
So
move. It's gotta move.
Well then.
It's really gotta move.
Well, they say if
No,
he's
no
missed a
chip.
few, you know he's
We're
got
by
a
the
few
chip.
he's going to make.
yeah, yeah, that's true.
Probably a little rub off this other blue might be helpful to them, but they...
Okay.
I think that's okay.
I don't think there's a shot for 2 there.
No, hell no.
Well,
No,
if we
don't
had any doubt, Ben
The
just
only
took it
thing you
away.
can miss it
That
is
wasn't a
if you-
maybe. Well, let's listen to these
take the
angles.
goal
It's
here.
interesting to hear what they say.
You can't miss it this way, in my opinion. Anywhere out, I think anywhere like 2/3 of a stone or thinner, it's a point. It's a point. Yeah. Yeah. Easy, and it's like half.
Half a rock, eh? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, half stone. Kind of weight, Koo? Sorry? Control weight, yeah.
So there's agreement that there isn't a shot for 2. Just gonna come down here and play this for 1 with a sort of an easy or a control kind of weight. John mentioned that anywhere 2/3 or thinner, so it's hard to miss this on the thin side. The only thing they don't want to do here is over curl this rock.
Yep.
Yep.
Gotta go, Beach.
Really gotta go,
hard,
Beach.
Beach. Gotta go hard, Beach.
Hard,
Gotta
Beach.
go hard, Beach. Push, buddy. Come on! Come on!
Uh-oh.
I don't think so. 2 yellow. I think. 2 yellow. I think it's maybe
It's
that
this one
one.
here.
But yeah.
So as John outlined, over curl was what they didn't want to do. Unfortunately for them, it is what they did, so that's going to be a steal of 2 for Team Harty, jumping out to a lead here. Well, we've got ourselves a game here, folks, after what looks like it might be an early ending with a big lead for Team Cooey early has turned around here, and we're going to have a heck of a finish, so don't go anywhere. Grab some popcorn, maybe.
When you're missing shots, guess what shot you want to throw? A shot where you just can throw it hard.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because if you...
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to say anything. I
wish
just,
you
like,
didn't have to watch this.
we called the wrong shot.
Kyler, I need my broom.
Well, there's no
It's right
point
there.
baiting
You
that
do.
shot because it, like, you can throw it back ring to fucking peel.
Thanks. Yeah, should be good.
So we're probably going to see a similar game plan here to what we've been seeing, but by the opposite teams. So for Team Harty with love of force, even a deuce
Mine's
is
good,
the
guys.
end of the world.
Okay, go then. Go.
Would prefer not to give up 3 if you could
Hard.
avoid it.
Hard, get it, get it.
For
Keep it
Team
going.
Cooey, going to be looking for multiple points here
Okay,
to
mine's good.
put themselves in a
Okay.
position to
It's all you.
complete
Make it
the
a good one.
comeback in
Mine's fine.
8.
15. You're good.
No,
Nice.
sorry, Chelsea, just had to step away, but I've come back, and Harty took 2.
Stole 2, yeah.
You're good.
Benny, come on. Let's go. We're going to win this game.
Some of those stickers must have been lifting up.
Yeah, just doing his part to help out the ice makers.
Nice control. You're great.
And obviously everybody listening to us knows what happened, but I did happen to miss it. Was the slash go wrong? Or?
Just over curled it, which was, John was talking about it, maybe even suggesting that they could have played a little bit more weight because the only thing they couldn't do was over curl it, and
Clean.
just unfortunately
Bear
over
down,
curled it
not
and
dying.
punched their own out the side and left the 2 yellows sitting back there. So interesting here for Kevin Cooey, being 2 down. Your first instinct is to think that you want to go out and try to score 2 or 3. The challenge with that is that if you only get 2, or if you're forced, obviously it's really bad. You're 1 down coming home without. If you get 2, you're still tied coming home without, and the analytics on that would tell you that your chances of winning in the 8th end tied without are really low. So electing to appears it looks like they're electing to go for a blank here and try to get their 2 or 3 in 8.
Normal here, Josh. Normal.
So barring a miss, likelihood is then we will see us end blanked.
Yeah, I think you're going to see them running up and down, and for Team Harty doesn't
Clean.
really take any risk
Clean.
either, so hard
Yep.
to blame them for throwing the 1 in, and
Yep.
Team Cooey deciding that if they're going to have to get 2 or 3, they might as well do it in 8 instead of 7.
Good shot.
I think you might have seen a different call on this one if we were still in the 4 rock free guard zone, but 3s are a lot easier to come by now with the 5 rock rule, so being 2 down coming home isn't 2 down coming home with isn't quite the dire situation that it used to be. Not the one you would choose, but could be worse.
Good scrub, Benny. Good scrub. Oh, he even stuck around? Miracle.
Heel.
So we've been giving all the credit to Team Harty on the sweep, but Ben showing us why he's Ben Hebert on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, whoa.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
Pick back. Well, it's tied up. Yeah. I don't know if they'll even want the 2
Yeah,
right now.
that's what I was going to say. Now it's decision time.
We'll help you. We'll take that out for you.
They might.
Although, is there not a chance of a 3? Because that could happen again. I mean, these.
I don't think
wide
you
ends.
can rely on another. That's a pick. I mean, that's
Yeah.
you can't expect a wide open miss. So I think you have to assume it's only going to be 2, and you probably don't only want 2. That's why they decided to play for the blank in the first place. So this is one of those ones that can be tough, where you have to remind yourself of what you started the end trying to do. When the other team misses a shot, you want to punish them for that. You want to jump all over them and make them pay for it. But if your end plan was to blank because you didn't want only a deuce, then that's still only a chance for a deuce. So it doesn't actually really change your end goal. I think that's a smart call.
There you go. It's a great thing to remember when you have a plan, is to stick to it, even if it means removing your own, as illogical as it may seem.
Yeah. I mean, there are times where you should switch gears when something gets missed and things, but I think because there's no guards, again, that would be different if there was a corner guard that he can come around on the other side, because then maybe a 3 comes into play. But given that there's nothing else out there, you have to assume you're not getting more than 2. And we've already established that they don't want 2 now. If they're only going to get 2, they'd rather do it next end and try to steal in the extra versus trying to steal an 8 with just a little bit of ramped up extra pressure that goes on with extra ends.
So what you're saying is, if you're a Tuesday night skip, maybe don't follow this strategy.
Yeah, no, because I do think that, you know, in there is an element of when you're playing league curling or junior curling and things, it's not necessarily wrong to build a strategy around the fact that you are going to get misses. You know, I think your bigger mistake is, and when I was a kid, it used to drive my dad crazy. He was coaching us, and I would watch the Brier, and then I'd go out to my next bonspiel, and I'd just be playing double run backs and all kinds of guards and freezes and stuff, and he was, Chelsea, like, your team, we're just not at that level. Like, you're not Kevin Martin. Stop playing like it. And I think it's common to watch what these guys do on TV and want to play like that, but it's all about odds. Basically, all it boils down to is odds. Their odds of making those run-back doubles and things, they're still not, don't get me wrong, it's not a high percentage shot, but if Kevin Cooey's odds of making it are 70%, that's still worth playing. If my odds of making it are 50, I'm probably not going to play it. So that's where the difference becomes. It's what are your odds of making this high-risk shot for the big reward versus playing the easier one that you will make for a lesser reward.
Yeah, I know when I went to some juvenile bonspiels and I watched, they'd make these incredible shots, and I'd say, oh no, now they're going to try that more often.
Exactly, yeah. You make it once.
You never hope them to miss it because you're cheering for them, but when they make it sometimes, it's like, oh, here we go.
Well, it's addictive because it's like you make it and you just feel like a hero. It's you're like, oh, I can do that. I got this. No worries. But that's the thing, is everyone can make it. It's a matter of how often are you going to make it.
7 spiels ago, I made the in off. It's 6 spiels ago, you didn't. 5, you didn't. 4,
Yeah,
you didn't.
exactly.
Well, let's remember the 7th.
Yeah, of the last 30 in-offs you throw in, how many have you made? That's the bigger question.
Yeah. Well, we're down to Skips Rocks here in the fastest end of curling here in Banff.
Yeah.
Well then.
Where we've even had the team take its own out. But again, a great strategy play here, to your point, is to get it to 8, and let's try and get our 3 then, rather than get 2 and come home without.
The other thing that you're factoring in here, if you're Kevin Cooey, is when you have a young team like Harty, and they've played enough that it's probably not quite as intense as if you have a brand new team. When they get a lead, it's like the collar starts to tighten a little bit, and all of a sudden it's theirs to lose. When they're down, there's no pressure on them, or when they're close, there's no pressure on them, and then now all of a sudden you're out in front, and it's easy to tighten up just a little bit. And if you wait till 8 to make your move, it's even more likely, because now the game's on the line. So that factors in maybe a little bit too to that decision. I think they would have done this against anybody, to be totally honest, but that is something that could sway you a little bit too, is with a younger team with less experience playing against a team like Kevin Cooey, who they probably grew up watching. It is easy to get ahead of yourself and start thinking outcomes, and then that often leads to misses, which can pretty easily lead to a 3.
Well, and certainly we've seen throughout this game lots of rocks in play when they get in play, and lots of angles and opportunities. So we do know that a 3 is as likely as not. in the 5-rock rule.
Felt all there. Off, I think. Off.
Running like Hawk.
Yeah, it looks like off.
Well, you'd like to have it
kinda
stop in the
grabbing right
house
now.
so that he can have to maybe jam, but unlikely that would happen either.
Yeah, highly unlikely. I laughed in the first end of Kui's game against Botcher in the semifinal. He threw a blank that they swept all the way, and he made it, but he didn't. It wasn't like a clean, and so they swept it out, rolled it out, and Darren Moulding said, "Oh, maybe we'll just keep hitting and hope he eventually noses one of them." And then they all burst out laughing because it's hilarious to think that Kevin Kui would nose a peel. Not that it's impossible, but again, you just can't bank on it. You have to assume he's going to make these.
Beach. Good.
Yeah, a little nervous there.
A little
at the
nervous
end, but-
moment there, but good shot. Mission accomplished.
Well, let's set this up for you. We started the game, scored a 2 by Kui, steal a 2 by Kui, and things look to be going away from Harty. But since then, 4 straight in they scored. They took a 2, stole a 1, stole a 1, stole a 2, and that's got us after a blank, purposeful blank, where Kui took out one of his own. We're going to go to 8. Kui's down by 2, but he has last rock and certainly has the skill set and the players to get the 3, or at least get the 2 and force this to an extra end. Just a quick thank you to our sponsors, ATB, our lead sponsor of the ATB Banff Classic. They also are the ATB Okotoks Classic coming up in a few weeks. The Banff Curling Club, thank you to the members and for allowing us to use their ice, as well as the volunteers to be here. And the Canmore Curling Club, who gave us a number of volunteers as well. Hugh Burton, Dennis Graham, Nick Sarden. Thank you very much for coming all the way over and helping us out. Town of Banff, who trusted us enough to allow us to run this great event in their facility, the Fenland Recreation Center here in Banff. And of course, Curling Alberta, all that work they put in to make sure that curling is safe. There's lots of resources to keep it safe and a lot of knowledge on how to do that. So thank you, Curling Alberta, for that enablement and for supporting our sport through COVID and actually at all times here in the province of Alberta.
Yeah, good. Nice. Okay.
And here we go. I would say game on in the 8th end. Harty putting it right down on the button, which we expected. They wanted that in the house. They'll likely build 3 rocks in a row up there. And in the meantime, Kevin Kui will try to get some corner guards and then generate the offense from there.
Easy. It's got to curl a mile.
We did mention earlier that the change from 4 rock to 5 rock put the advantage back in the hands of the team with the hammer, which is Kevin Kui here. So they're going to look to use that this end and set up a multiple point score.
Yeah.
Top 12's not the worst. You got it. Yeah, for sure.
We're just 3. Okay, go then.
Go, Josh, go.
Hard, Josh.
Hard.
Hard, Josh. Hard, Josh.
Hold it there.
Just 3. That means out front, you think?
Hard line.
Just 3?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so they're saying it's a tight guard.
They don't really want to have a guard, do they? They want this in the house.
You know, it's debatable. You could do it either way. I don't think a tight guard is terrible. It's a matter of whether you want 2 in and 1 guard or 1 in and 2 guards. I think because their first rock was as deep as it was, if that was just biting the top of the forefoot, then I don't know that I like another one in because they're too close together. They're too grouped. Then I would maybe throw 2 guards, but because that came all the way to the top of the button, there's probably a little too much space in there for Team Kui to throw some freezes.
And they say with last rock guards and rocks behind the tee line of your friend, you have to assume Kui will start to punch those back behind and roll in behind the corner. So he sets up some further advantage by building a bit of a wall back there to use later. He doesn't really want to remove those rocks, does he?
He doesn't need to yet, although what you could see happen here, with a team that isn't as good of hitters as Kevin Kui, what you would say is that you can't afford to ignore these rocks in the middle and just draw around the corner guard. They probably can afford to do that. We've seen a number of run double combos made, so they could choose to ignore, wrap a couple around the corner, and bank on themselves to make a run double, or you could see them start tapping things around. The problem with playing the little taps is they are your friends back there, but you can't be relying on easy jams either. You have to set up like quite a wall in order for them to really help you, because we talk about the hitting ability of Team Cooey, but Team Harty has that ability as well. So definitely important to make that decision.
Another great throw right where he wanted it.
I'm a little surprised that they put all of these in the house. I don't know that that would have been what I would do.
Or like boardish.
You like to guard up front so they
I
can't just rip all those.
I might even throw 2 guards, but I would definitely throw 1 guard. Because now 2 corner guards that you can't peel, and you're giving them a chance to move your rocks around and get them off the center line, off the middle, and potentially roll the shooter in behind the corner as well. I just think it's hard not to. It's maybe a good play to not give up 3, but it's essentially saying you're probably getting 2. Put it this way, if the situation was reversed, I don't think Team Cooey would throw all 3 of those in the house.
You're pretty straight here, Benny, so give it a chance.
A little bit of housework there.
Well, it could be, I mean, it's probably a strategy they've discussed and that has worked for them, so there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just, my concern is that those are 3 yellow rocks really close together now with 2 corner guards that are going to stay there for at least this next shot. So this would make me a little bit nervous if I was the team without the hammer here.
So that's straight straw again.
Roll it. Good.
Boy, John.
Oh, that was a great shot. That is perfectly buried.
Yeah, and what happened with the yellows was less important there. Basically, all you're trying to do is make the roll, and whatever happens with the yellows is okay. You just need to end up setting a blue buried behind a corner guard there and remove 1 yellow, which he did.
We just keep hitting the ones in the open, right? I think the guard looks better than ripping, but yeah. I think we got to decide if we're okay with, because we're giving the 2 for sure if we rip.
Oh, so talk about putting the card up there
Yeah, and
rather
see,
than concede the 2.
I think that the point that they're making is right there. Kyler's point is absolutely true, but I think you needed to make that decision 1 shot sooner. I think that's a decision that you made by putting the second's first rock in the house. And not that this is the wrong call now. I think this is what I would be playing. But you could have put yourself in as dangerous a situation by throwing that guard 1 rock earlier. So to me, by putting the 3rd rock in the house, you were already saying that you're probably giving up a 2. So I think just 1 shot too late on the decision, although the conversation is good and the decision is good. I just think you're maybe put yourself in some unnecessary trouble here by going in and allowing John to make that hit and roll. Because if you threw a guard before, then he doesn't have the hit and roll.
Well, putting that exactly where they wanted it.
Perfect shot.
Guard.
Great shot.
It's hard for Cooey to play off anything, and if he does try to hit and roll in on the right, it'll jam on the blue on the left.
Yeah. What kind of weight though? What like?
Well, I mean, if you just get rid of everything, then that's 2 guards. Yeah. Yeah, you just want to get rid of 2 of theirs and. Right?
Okay, so I think. What's that? I feel like if I'm going to get rid of everything, I'm going to lose my shooter with peel.
That's okay though, John.
Okay.
Yeah. He's probably going to have to throw a center guard.
So if I heard that right, are they looking to peel everything out?
I don't mind. I think we go for just a shade high side with that with peel weight.
Yeah, they're looking at a triple. The important thing here, you heard Ben say, you got to kill 2 of theirs. So as long as they kill 2 yellows here, they're feeling pretty good about it. If they lose the shooter, that's okay. If they roll it in behind, I don't think it'll be in the house, but it's just another wall. If you could stack blues in a line on the edge of the 8-foot there, you'd be pretty happy.
Shot, John.
Not exactly how they drew it up, but not bad. The biggest challenge with that isn't that they left Team Harty shot rock, it's that they left them a center guard to use.
Back button?
Yeah, I think right on the
Though
button.
on the flip side, it's now a Cooey stone, and it's not a very long guard, so
Yeah, I like this.
pretty makeable run back coming back here. But I think this is the only option you have if you're Jeremy Harty, is to draw another one in here and hope that they don't make the perfect run back. Try to sit 2, get this buried. Even if you're back T-line, that's okay.
Now, in that top blue on a run back, is it splittable in terms of if you did the run back, can you roll it over and maybe catch a biter?
I don't think you can with weight. I think if you were going to split it, you'd have to throw it quiet, so you couldn't do it with a run back. I do think that if there was nothing else in the house and you needed it to make it for 3, that it's there with like a back line. But I think the problem with throwing more weight is that your roll becomes a lot flatter, so it's hard to roll it into the house because it's not going to be a steep enough angle.
Very tight. Oh, no, no,
Well,
don't
certainly
over-
lots of action here in the 8th end. Cooey needing 2 points to tie 3 to win, and Harty needs to hold them to 1 or steal to win outright here in the 8th end. Great throw there by Clybrink. Maybe a little deeper than he wanted, but
Just stayed good.
Looks
I
like
think
an
it's
easy
yeah,
roll.
I think it's good enough. If
'Cause
it
even
curls
if-
anymore, you might have left him a double, but I don't think that for John Morris here that he can stay
know
on
if
that
it is
high
an
side of the
easy
yellow
double
enough to
for
make the
him?
double with and get by the guard and the rock in the top of the 12 foot.
it's a risk.
It's maybe there, but it's really tight.
What if we implant this
Same
here?
thing.
Then
It's
it's
the
the
same
same thing. Well, no, it's,
Yeah.
you know what, guys? It's not. We got to be pretty unlucky.
No.
It's pretty tough. I think this looks more natural as this little wiggle this way.
Well, that is the double. That is the double, though, John. Oh, you're thinking out turn.
What if we just what if we ever did this, like your call, Benny, where we go this and try to roll it here and then roll the shooter to there?
There's some really good options there.
I agree.
You can roll it in behind the blue too.
I agree, as long as we don't throw too much weight,
But
right?
if you plant it, does he have the easiest double
Well,
ever?
yes, but you have to. That if it rolls here, it doesn't have it,
If you
because then it
plant
goes on to his,
Yeah,
right?
if you plant it here, it still might jam.
It's a,
But it's playing with the game if he makes it.
Plant this one too.
Yeah, that's the best.
like just a control, maybe a control weight, like run back. I think the best result is a.
You probably just go a little this way,
Yeah.
Koo. Rolls with the guard. Yeah.
You betcha.
I think that's the action.
Yeah. This is you, eh?
And if we knows it, we knows it.
Well, someone said, you want a telestrator? I said, I don't need one. I've got the players out there. So, all the
Yeah,
options were
that's-
talked about. Looks like they're going to settle on running that blue back into the
gotta
yellow,
reach.
and both the shot thrown, the rock thrown, as well as the raised one will both roll to the right, opening up the center and leaving 2 guarded, buried, hopefully, blue rocks in the house and making Harty have to think about it.
Yeah, they've got some options here. They can hit this right on the nose and just plant it on that back shot rock on the button is a really good shot. If they come across on the center line side a little bit and hit it onto that higher yellow rock, likely that rock they run back in will also spin and maybe end up buried anyway. So a couple different ways this can go.
Close, Benny.
Needs to get to the nose though.
Nose, Kev.
Oh, it's curling. It's curling.
Johnny!
It's curling. It's curling. It's curling.
John! Go, Kev!
Hard,
Go,
hard, hard,
go,
hard.
go,
hard.
go, go.
Oh, it's good. Real good.
That's a good spot.
Oh, really good throw there. Well, you could see Kevin jump to the back because he didn't think that was going to come, but that was the difference between weight. Earlier on when Kevin threw those ones that were missed this way, a lot of weight didn't come, but this time we saw it start to really hook over the center line. They actually made the original shot they called rather than the secondary one that Kevin was feeling was going to have to be played.
When you heard the front end partway through, you heard Ben say nose, Kevin. So he's saying switch the call, and Kevin's going no, it's curling, and then you heard Ben say it's curling, because as the sweeper sometimes that's easier to see because you can base it on the center line, whereas the person behind it sometimes takes an extra second to notice that it's moving. Where when you're standing right over top of it, you can see it creeping up on the line, and it really gives you a good visual. So really good call there. Not exactly perfect. Would have liked to hit that maybe a little bit thicker and roll this rock buried, but their big concern was not leaving Team Harty some kind of double to kill that buried blue rock behind the corner guard. That's the one that right now is their saving grace. That's their potential 3rd point there.
Trying to pick this out and maybe roll over behind the guard situation. To sit.
Definitely want to sit 2. That's a big thing here for Team Harty is roll away and don't leave them a double and be sitting 2 at the end of this.
And
Is
here's that
the goal.
straight spot with weight, but it's coming.
Hard! Hard! Whoa, off.
Is it going to sit?
Yeah, I think it did, just in time. It's open, but at least it's second shot.
That was
we gotta get
huge
and roll
to
it.
stop in time.
Yeah, definitely had to stop in time. Would have liked to stop, behind the guards so that it wasn't so accessible, but at least they're sitting 2, so that's a big plus for the moment.
Which way do you roll this one, Chelsea?
I think that's what they're talking about.
That was my first
But that's
instinct.
fine.
That's what scares me.
Go against your instincts all the time.
But no, just on the Monday Night League guy. So usually it's not conducive necessarily. But let's listen into the players and see why they think I'm right.
If we ever have a double, it's going to be a lot easier to make off this rock than it is this rock out here.
That's what I'm saying.
My thought is this one because you can. I
Yeah.
mean, if you get into here, even back to here.
Yeah, I'm in.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay. It won't be. You're going to get a bit of finish. Well, it can't be as straight as that 4-foot line. That's the
What does he
straightest
do if we
part.
come around the guard?
I don't like coming around the guy. You have to hit one here.
You have to
I
hit
don't-
one,
I don't
don't
hate
you?
the hit and
Because
roll
there's
low on
line
this,
1,
though.
2.
Okay.
I think you do. I think it's a good question to ask, though. That's all John's saying is, what if we do this?
Yeah, gee, let's make a good roll. Let's see
I
what
do think they
happens
came to the right conclusion here. And actually, that was a really good point that Ben made. Is so the reason that they're choosing to hit this, it looks counterintuitive because it's not shot rock, it's way out on the wing. But Ben's saying, if we're ever going to make a double to win the game, it'll be easier to make off this middle one than it will be off the side one, especially because the side one's even a little bit deeper on the tee line. So now if you're going to try to come
Okay, we're
off
like
that and make a double, the other yellow rock would have to be in the back of the 8-foot or back of the 12-foot, and obviously Team Harty's going to try not to put it there. So I think that was well thought out.
Hard, 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 hard.
Okay.
This board?
It didn't come. I mean, he had lightweight. It just didn't
did.
come as much as they wanted. It was close,
If we
though.
can roll under, but nose is fine. He won't have a double off it.
Yeah, the challenge on that one for BJ is that they would have rather rolled big than stayed out there. If they roll that over
Nose is
behind the
probably
other
better.
yellow, then you maybe group them together, set up a potential double. Now, if Jeremy Harty can make this hit and roll, it's not an easy shot,
Yeah.
but especially with how straight we just saw BJ's run. But if he can make the hit and roll, then now all of a sudden that becomes second shot and not accessible to Team Cooey.
If he has any sort of nose or even outside roll, doesn't that set up a pretty textbook double? for
Well, if he
Cooey?
rolls outside, I don't think you need the double because he won't be second. And if he noses it, I don't think you have enough room to get to the inside and make the double. But you could make this shot then. I think if he hits this on the nose, and you're going to see Kevin Cooey walk down and play the exact same shot and roll it underneath and say, like, I've got this run for 3, I've got that run for 3. You know, you can't take them all away from me, kind of thing.
A little more weight, and that's staying out there, it looks like.
Hard, Josh.
Hard, Josh, keep going. Keep going.
Sweet.
Good shot, though, right on the nose.
Yeah, hack weight.
So to your point, he's going to throw hack weight and try and get that roll. And what does Jeremy do in his second draw into lie 2?
Yeah, I think probably what he's going to have to do is throw a draw
Just the hacks?
to sit to somewhere. My first thought is around that tight blue guard because it allows you to get closer to the 4-foot. The challenge with that is that it's the tightest guard for Kevin to run in. So you're doing that and putting yourself in a better position to end the game by stealing, but you're also leaving Kevin an easier run double for 3 than if you put it somewhere else in the house and he's got to make a run and then also make a cross house kind of a double versus a 2 rocks close together, which what it would be if you came around that center line rock. If he doesn't make a roll, I think if he hits us on the nose, what you will likely see Jeremy Harty do is just hit it and say, okay, fine, take your 2, let's go to the extra end.
Yeah.
Little heavy.
Hard beach. Get in there. Get in there. Good one.
Pretty good, but still, I think, partially open on the wide side. Can see maybe a third of that rock or so.
But still going to ignore that and draw in. The risk, of course, is if something happened to leave a shot for 3 to win. But trying to pick that out and miss, same thing. So what's the greater percentage is to
What do you got
control
on that?
placing it somewhere that Kevin can't come after it with an easy double.
Yeah, I think if you think, again, it comes down to odds. So if you put this here where you want it, what are the odds Kevin Cooey makes that run back? Let's say they're 70%. If you think you're more than 70% to be able to pick that rock, then you throw that. Like, I think it becomes a pretty mathematical decision in that sense.
And I thought you didn't have to pay attention to math in school. And I've just learned wrong. Math has something to do with curling.
Well, in fairness, you are kind of making up the numbers, but and you're guessing at what those percentages are. But I think that's how you need to think about it critically, though. Like if you say you think you're 5 out of 10 to make that pick, well, then you probably don't throw it, because your chances of winning the game are better by doing this, and you hope Kevin misses his. If you think your chances to make it are 90%, then you do throw it, because if Kevin makes this, then you lose the game, and this way you're not losing the game right now. So I just think that's like when I was growing up, I didn't play like that. It was a sort of a gut instinct thing, and I didn't do enough analysis of odds of this and odds of that, of my shot being made and their shot being missed and what have you, and we're seeing that a lot more. The analytics come into the game a lot more, and in this situation, I think that's exactly what it is.
That's interesting you talk analytics. I remember when I was sitting with my son's coach, and he had a sheet of paper that had every scenario about being up 1, down 1, up 2, down 2, 7th and 6th and 8th, and then all the percentages of where you wanted to be, just to what you were saying earlier. And it is important, and they do use them a lot.
Yeah, more and more. It's not going away. That's going to increase, and you're going to see it come into play more and more often, and you're going to see more teams and more players have those memorized and know that, so that when they get into that situation, they go, well, is a force, we heard Jeremy Harty's team talk about it. Is a force better than a steal here? Well, that should be a number that you know, and will be a number that they know pretty quickly here in the next couple of years. I think you're going to see those analytics be that important.
Yeah, I agree.
So that curled over just enough to take away the straight run back double in terms of, a straight hit double, but certainly they're grouped close together.
7-8.
Yeah, the run back double is definitely there. I think you just heard John say 7/8. I tend to agree with that.
Really, this is a shot for a 3 in the game, or likely a jam and 2. And
yeah, I think this is likely the game either way. It's probably either a steal or a make. That's a really clutch shot there, though, for Jeremy Harty. We talked about him being young and a little less experience, and sometimes draws can get you when you're in that situation, and he made it perfect and put the pressure on, and he's going to get rewarded for it here.
Yes, that one over curled.
Congrats.
So a little struggle on the hits coming at the home end here for Kevin Cooey. Jumped out to a 4-point lead, and he will lose this one 8-4 in the end. 8 straight points by Team Harty. A great bonspiel for them. Chelsea, thank you very much for coming up and spending the day with us and giving us some great commentary and your thoughts on the teams and the game and where you're going and what you're up to. So really appreciate that.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. It was a blast to be here, and it sounds like the event went off without a hitch, so kudos to everybody involved in organizing it and running it and everything. From everything I watched on TV and from being here today, it certainly looked like it was a resounding success, which is huge in a season where we didn't even know if we were going to be able to play. To see everyone rally together and be able to put these events on is really cool. So thanks to everybody who did that, and thanks for having me out.
Thank you, and thank you to everybody who's here watching and enjoying this. We hope you enjoyed the live stream and seeing the Banff Curling Club and all this great play here. Obviously, in a few weeks, the ATB Okotoks Classic will be on. Mike Libis and his team in Okotoks. I know they're getting ready. They've got great live streaming, great rink, and great teams coming there. So we hope you can tune in and watch them. Congratulations to Team Harty, the first ever, the inaugural winner of the ATB Banff Classic. There can only ever be one first. So congratulations to them. That will go down in the history book. One last thank you to our sponsor ATB, to the Banff Curling Club, Camera Curling Club, to the town of Banff and Curling Alberta. We also want to say a big thanks to our live stream crew, Fenya and Annette Young, who brought us all the audio, to Thomas and Jamie Oliver, who brought us great camera work in that, and to all the commentators who came to help us out, and of course to our ice makers who put on a great show with what they did out there. That's Brian Armstrong, Jim Oliver, and Marty Villamere. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Have a safe rest of the weekend, and we hope you keep curling for the rest of the season. All the best.